But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. Mic check 1, 2. Technical difficulties are over. What's going on? This is the show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And boy, do we got a doozy for you tonight. Not just the upside down, let's call it the inside out. The inside out. We're going to do something like that in the terms of The Matrix. Oh, yes. We're going to talk about base reality tonight. We're going to talk about the Divine Architect and the Dark Counterplayer. If you've never heard of this, well, you're hopefully in for a treat. Lots of good stuff going on. Troubled Minds is, where most of the good stuff is going on, if I may say so myself. And I say that because, of course, there's me. I'm Michael Strange, and I'm your host here, like I said. But there's more important things afoot, and that is you. I always say that the actual secret weapon of Troubled Minds is you, and you'll see what we do, how we do calls on this show, and just get together with some ideas and consider, maybe things that I hadn't considered, maybe things that you hadn't considered until a memory triggered it or put it in there or stirred a thought, and that's really what this is about. It's really getting together and just kind of throwing ideas out and seeing if there's something really going on in this world that doesn't seem to be as you would expect. And that's what this is about. That's what I like to call the upside down. And today we'll just call it the inside out as well, because you'll see why. Speaking of base reality, I guess since we're in base reality, aren't we? Wink, wink. Maybe or maybe not. We're going to just start with all the normal stuff. We're going to assume we're in a base reality, and if you dial a phone number, you'll get me. And speaking of that, we are doing this live. That's why we do this live, is to include you, like I said, you, the secret weapon of troubled minds. And, well, we're doing it live on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter, of course. And we're broadcasting this live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are discussing The Matrix, but not The Matrix like you expect. There's going to be no spoilers for the new movie. There's going to be none of that stuff. It's going to be something else. It's going to be a discussion about Philip K. Dick, if you can believe that. He had a theory in the old days about, well, we're talking like 1977, 1978, that The Matrix is very real. Philip K. Dick, everybody knows him, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because there's a lot to this. It's pretty wild. But if you want to be part of this conversation, the first question is, there's always the first question. The first question is this: do you think it's possible that we're actually living in some sort of matrix? What that means is not living in a base reality. All right, that's what this means. That's the thought. That's where we begin tonight. And if you want to be part of the show, part of this discussion, just pick up the phone, dial 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. You can go to troubledminds.org. That's the official website, and you can find the Discord link there and the phone number there. So if you can't remember the number I read, just go to troubledminds.org. One-stop shop. It's got all things Troubled Minds. The phone number and the Discord link, so there you go. Discord, of course, is a chat client, a voice client. It's completely free, and it's how we do international calls. So there you go. If you're missing out on Discord, you're missing out, because there's a lot of amazing people in there sharing amazing thoughts all the time. So, okay, a couple more things just to cover real quick, and then we'll get into this. Two things. We are on the Fringe FM, which is a digital radio station, and looking for syndication. If you want to help us out, if you want to help out Troubled Minds, Joe Roop Lighting the Void, Ryan Gable. Ryan Gable's been doing live shows recently. Please do that. And what you can do is just call up your local radio station and say, hey, why aren't these guys on local radio? I want to be able to turn on the car, put a particular station on, and listen to these guys. That's how things get done. Maybe they've never heard of us yet. Maybe they need a little bit of you tugging their sleeve to cause some pressure to make them say, oh, this is really good stuff. Because, well, let's be honest, it is. So anyway, we are on the Fringe, and you can download the Fringe app at your favorite app store. That would, of course, be the Apple and the Android app store. Completely free. Just smash the play button at 7:05 Monday through Thursday. You'll get Troubled Minds, and then all the great programming that comes up after it. And one more thing, we're running another Discord at fringe.fm/chat. Join that, and there you go. There you go. That sets us up. Everything is in line. Sound check 1, 2. Microphone is fixed yesterday. Sorry about that, guys. Literally, once I started doing things yesterday, had a conference call with some other folks and helping some other people do some tech support stuff. Once I sat down to get going on the work I needed to do, this microphone was broken. It was hissing and stuttering and popping like it never worked ever a day in its life, and I was shocked. And, well, anyway, a whole 24 hours later, fixed. Nothing to worry about until Windows updates again, so cross your fingers. That doesn't happen anytime soon. So, all right. So what we're talking about tonight is this. It is Philip K. Dick, all right? But not like you think. Philip K. Dick, of course, wrote Total Recall in the form of a short story called, what was that story called? We'll remember it for you wholesale. He also wrote Blade Runner. He also wrote all kinds of things you're used to seeing, right? A lot of the Man in the High Castle was another famous one that came from, I believe Amazon was the one who purchased the rights to that and aired it. Pretty good stuff. The guy had this idea, okay? This idea, way before The Matrix, that we live in some sort of matrix. And he discusses base reality, all right? Base reality. And the crazy part about this is, well, there's a lot of crazy parts about this, so we'll get into that. But before we start, actually, I want to give a shout-out to David out there on the Discord. What's up, buddy? He's the one who shared these videos with me late last night. And we were talking about The Matrix. We were talking about, if there's a base reality, are we anywhere near it? Or are we actually in some sort of digital realm? Are we in some sort of simulation that was recreated in terms of maybe future us doing a reverse historical type simulation, right? So those types of thoughts. And we were kind of kicking around the idea last night because The Matrix was coming out and we were freaking out in the Discord. No spoilers, because I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to wait for Mrs. Strange this weekend and we're going to watch it. And but the thing is this, right? When you start thinking in terms of the Matrix and Neo and the whole robots ruling the world and the nuclear war, like that's one version of this. The other version of this is that there are multiple worlds, that there are different worlds overlaid on top of each other, possibly in the same space, which we talk about all the time on this show, but not in the sense of like dimensional parallel sort of realities. We're talking about computer code. We're talking about, you see it in the back, Matrix-like code. And in the sense that if this is a coded reality, then somebody coded this reality. All right. And so you have to ask who or what. All right. What's behind this? So we're going to take a step off regular reality here and dip into the Matrix simulation theory reality. And that's the other question tonight. So first off is, do you think that it's possible that we live in some sort of simulated reality? That's the first question tonight, okay? The second question, well, there's a whole lot of second questions. Yeah, don't worry, zero Matrix, no spoilers. We got no spoilers for you tonight because I haven't seen it, so I can't spoil. If I inadvertently say something that parallels something that happened in the movie, it's coincidental and it's based on the old Matrix movie. So just so you know, I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen the trailers. I didn't even watch the trailers. I don't want to, nothing. I'm not trying to do it. All right. And I'm one of those guys that if I'm interested and the movie tickles my brain in the right way, I want to go in and I want to form my own opinion. I'm not trying to read reviews or do any of that stuff. I want to find out myself. Okay. And make up my own mind. I hate being influenced by people saying, oh, it sucked or it was great or this, that, the other. I'll decide that, damn it. Anyway, so what we're talking about tonight is exactly that base reality. So first question is, do you believe that, is it possible we live in some sort of simulated reality? And if so, let's say if so, then how close do you think it is to the base reality? Okay. Are we one layer removed? Are we second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 1,000th layers removed from an actual base reality? Which would mean, of course, there's a whole lot of reasons to maybe throw into the mix, into the questions with, the particle wave duality, with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, with quantum entanglement. There's a whole lot of really spooky things that are at play here in our reality right now that suggest possibly there's something at play behind what's really going on, something more like computer code. All right. And we were talking about binary last night, and we got into ternary, which is the term for trinary code. And that stuff's way over my head. So I am not going to try and, one, tie myself in knots to get it, and then two, explain it to you poorly. So we're just not going to do that. I had a thread in my head last night, an idea about that. We're not going to do that. We'll do Philip K. Dick instead. Now, this is the thing. So Philip K. Dick suggests this, and this is what's also on my mind tonight. Again, shout out to David for pointing out these videos. Links always in the description. You can find this stuff if you want to find all my sources. But Philip K. Dick described the Matrix like this. He said there's an architect, all right, and he was using a chessboard as a metaphor, all right, to explain what was happening. And the chessboard and the pieces are the reality at play, okay? But in the chessboard, you have two people, one on each side, in an adversarial situation, all right? Chess is a zero-sum game. Somebody must win, somebody must lose, unless there is a draw. And then you replay, okay? But the thing is this, right? It gets crazier than this, because Philip K. Dick suggested that he had this incident, this experience where they put him on sodium pentothal, all right, at the dentist. And after that experience, he was able to remember false memories. He was able to remember things that have never happened to him, as if he had his feet in parallel universes. And he didn't describe them as the multiverse situation like we've discussed in the past. He described it exactly like you would expect. A matrix. That's how he described it. And this metaphor of the chessboard and the two players, the adversarial players being, of course, the divine architect and the dark opposition player, the dark opposing player. And of course, right, you see very much like we see in the Matrix movies themselves, that we have an adversarial situation in terms of good and evil, right? In terms of this idea forever, like in at least in this reality, there's this idea that there's always been a fight between light and darkness, between good and evil. And we've talked about some of those things recently and how maybe there's inversions there or misremembrances or who knows, right? Because we're all trying to figure out the reality we're in, all right? And the thing is this. If you have adversarial creators in the sense of not just the divine creator, the opposition player on the other side of the board, they're creating chess moves in this reality, all right? And they're counter-moving each other with the chess pieces. And so in this reality, we're talking this entire universe, right? And I guess maybe if you want to go really wild, the multiverse that's in the Matrix as well. But that's a whole other mind twister for another day. But so we'll just stick in the Matrix realities, okay? Those realities. And so if there's this chessboard and there's these adversarial players in the metaphor as described by Philip K. Dick, and I've got the audio clips, we'll play it, you can hear it in his own words. Of course, he's Philip frickin' K. Dick, and he explains it way better than I ever could because, well, if you've ever read any of his stories, you'll understand. But the thing is that with him, he had this idea that he was not living in the world we live in. He was there, but also he was somewhere else. Part of him somehow residual code, some sort of residual memory. He talks about deja vu. We've talked about things like this. He describes them as these memories are not, you know how people have memories of past lives, all right? He describes it in the term of, well, it's not necessarily a past life. It's a current life in another iteration of the Matrix. And so the reason we remember this is because somehow, some way, there are instances that can poke our consciousness, this digital realm consciousness. Remember, we're in the Matrix tonight. This digital realm consciousness from the code that actually makes us move, and binds the galaxy together, right, in ones and zeros. Well, what he was describing is that you're able to access these other versions of the Matrix. And he describes, even in the sense that if you guys ever saw Man in the High Castle, right? Man in the High Castle, he actually writes, and I'm not no spoilers there either, but he's actually writing just the premise of the story, so you guys know. It's a fantastic series if you guys haven't seen it. Clearly, the books, the stories are always better, but they did a pretty fantastic adaptation of that on, what was it? I'm pretty sure it was Amazon. But anyway, that part doesn't matter. Man in the High Castle is an iteration of the Matrix, wherein the Axis powers in World War II actually emerged victorious. And then it's a look into a world that would have been run by those regimes, okay? And, well, as he describes it, as in writing these books, he didn't come up with the ideas as, wow, this would be a wild sci-fi idea. He says, this is Philip K. Dick I'm talking about, that he actually had latent memories of these things. Like he existed in these other versions of the Matrix where other realities actually went down. Okay? Now, I know it's wild. I know it sounds wild. But as he describes it, and this is the strange thing too, we talk about time on this show. We talk about all the rest of this. But in terms of time itself, don't you think that time is the flat circle bit, right? Meaning that all of time exists in one space. Well, what if the one space is just a gigantic supercomputer? And each version of time or time space, even in the same matrix, which would be this reality, our reality, again, for sake of conversation, I'm not saying this is true or this is not, just FYI. Sake of conversation. But if that's the case, all right, and we're in this reality, well, how do we notice the next one over, right? In Philip K. Dick's case, sodium pentothal. All right, and then there were memories that he recalled of himself in other places, other time frames, other versions of this matrix. And there you go. These spammers are keeping me working overtime. All right, I'm going to ban every single one of you. Don't worry. But okay, so that's what's on my mind tonight, right? There's kind of a lot here because it's not just in the sense of, okay, well, fine, this may not be base reality, all right? That's the premise here. If we don't live in the base reality, that means somebody somewhere has concocted a computer program, right? Quantum computing, these huge... We're getting to the point where we're going to be able to do this soon with actual historical simulations. But, well, what about consciousness? How do you program consciousness into something like me, into something like you, right? How do you do that? It becomes... wild, right? Those types of questions. But, right, in terms of all the rest of it, where this goes, I think it goes wherever your imagination wants to take it. Because he actually had a speech back in, I believe it was 1977, and it was called this. It was called, 1977. And he named it this. It was a speech he gave in France at a sci-fi conference, and as a result, some of the videos out there are a little bit poor because he's speaking English, and then there's like a French translator, kind of blah blah blah. So it's kind of it's just kind of bad hearing. You got to wait for the translations and stuff like that. But the videos that David shared for me, you can find those in the Discord, by the way. If you haven't joined the Discord, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, hop on in there and see the discussion that spawned the idea for this show. But the thing is that he named his speech this: if you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. And so, the plot thickens, does it not? You should see some of the others. And of course, one of those alternate realities, and when we're talking about reality now, we're talking about digital realities. We're talking about the matrix itself. We'll get into the architect tonight and the counterplayer, the dark counterplayer that's the opposition, right? Again, the eternal battle between good and evil. And Philip K. Dick seems to suggest that in those terms, even in the matrix, the idea plays. The good versus evil, ancient human trope still plays in the Matrix, and which is pretty nutty stuff when you consider if you've watched the original movies, right? The first trilogy, and there's some. The first one was a classic. I don't think you're going to find many people who hated it unless they just hate sci-fi. After that, they went a little bit off the rails, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna rehash all that, but you see that they were trying to merge worlds, and they were talking about programs. They were talking about rogue programs. They were talking about the entire idea that you yourself, me, myself, we are those programs. And some of those programs, like they say, the vampires, the werewolves, things like this, are old rogue programs that never recycled themselves back into said matrix. So there's a lot there. Agent Smith, of course, which, what would that be? Would he be the opposition player? Would he be the chessboard metaphor of the main agent? Oh, I don't know, of Sauron or whoever might actually be on the other side of the chessboard from the divine creator, which of course would be, the divine programmer, in this term, okay? So we're talking about the divine programmer tonight, the dark counterplayer. We're talking about the Matrix, Philip K. Dick, and your reality. So, as I said, as we continue doing this, continue trucking, continue considering all the things, the question tonight is, Do you believe we live in some form of matrix? Is this or is this not the base reality? And if so, what about these tropes of good and evil? This dark counterplayer in the chessboard metaphor. You think this is wild? Hang tight, there's more. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. More on the way. More Matrix, metaphors, Philip K. Dick, and you. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we're talking about base reality. We're talking about the Matrix. We're talking about Philip K. Dick. We're talking about, is it possible that all of us are some form inside of a computer program? And there's more, of course, because nothing is ever so linear on Troubled Minds. And so if you have an idea on this, that's the question tonight. The basic question is it possible that we live in some form of matrix and there is some sort of actual architect, a divine architect, as it's been called, actually? And you know who the term comes from, the divine architect and the dark counterplayer? The term actually comes from Joseph Campbell, if you can believe that. And Joseph Campbell, of course, was the individual that sort of coined the hero's journey and did a whole lot of work kind of going back into the past of mythologies and sort of finding common themes. And of course, we've talked about this on this show in the past regarding, not just the hero's journey, but in terms of like modern day movie making, right? And I think The Matrix with Neo and the rest of that is like a perfect example of the hero's journey, the hero's path. It goes back to the 12 labors of Hercules, of course. We're talking about, in modern times, we're talking about Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, right? Starts as the farm boy, goes through the trials and tribulations of a tragedy in the family, and then he's learning of these powers and fails in his first attempt to confront the dark side. And all of this, right? All of this is built into this mythology. And so it makes you wonder, all right, that maybe there's these themes in place because, well, they've been programmed to be in place. Maybe all of this is just keystrokes somewhere of somebody programming me to say this tonight, right? As wild as that sounds, if you want to take it in terms of that, somewhere else, programming you to do whatever it is you did today, whatever you're ready to do tomorrow, fixing to do tomorrow, as our Southern folks say, our Southern friends. So I don't know. That you tell me. That's the question tonight. Do you believe in some capacity at all we live in a simulation? And like Todd said there, I don't think you can program emotions, feelings, pain, things like that. Well, of course you can. Of course you can. It's the same thing with like a video game, right? At some point, what about when Mario becomes sentient? All right. What is that program of sentience that is passed into the avatar? And what kind of pain does Mario feel when he gets bit on the foot by a turtle, right? In our 2D video game senses of the old school ways, nothing. Clearly, it's just code, ones and zeros. But at some point, that code becomes very metaverse-like and very, like we said, with Zuckerberg and all the rest of that coming with metaverse on the horizon, it seems less and less ridiculous to suggest that we do somehow live in this bizarre reality. So, what are your thoughts? Love to hear your thoughts on this tonight. If you think this is just rubbish, that's cool by me. And if you think there's something to this and maybe we live in a reality of some sort, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Give us a call, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and there you go. There you go. So I don't know. Like when we talked about this years and years ago for the very first time on Troubled Minds, back when Frank was still a co-host, by the way, it was a long time ago, I kind of came to that conclusion. I don't like the idea. My ego hates the idea, and it means that all the things that I think I am are not me at all. All those things are actually something else, somewhere else, putting the code and the ideas into our own flesh and blood. A little creepy, right? I think the thought's a little bit creepy. And that's what we're talking about. So love to hear your thoughts. So what do you think about this? One more time, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to our good friend, Joseph in Iowa. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
A-okay. Everything's great. I hear you. I think everything's working. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. What do you think about this idea, the simulation theory?
Well, it's definitely possible. But I was thinking, like, today at work, I had a close call with a razor blade. And it was like I stepped on it. I stepped near this razor blade, and I knew it was there, but I didn't know exactly where it was. And it came up my leg, but it didn't get me. So I was thinking maybe some people can, like maybe I did get hit with that razor. I was just joking. Like maybe I got hit with that razor in one dimension and was just like, all right, I'm out. Whoop. Like one over. That's slightly different, and then left
go ahead.
Ambulance trip behind.
Yeah, right. Maybe there's something to the idea of like 9 lives, right? Something like that, like the cat's 9 lives, because maybe it's built into the program itself, right? Maybe it's built into that. Maybe something like you just described, you get this many chances before something terrible actually happens. It's like mulligans over and over again until you run out. It's like, it would be like respawns, wouldn't it? It would be like a preemptive respawn, right? The universe somehow finds a way to make you okay this time. Right, but then boop, takes a life away.
Yeah.
Wild, huh?
Yeah, I think I've said that before in another example, like when I was younger too. But that just happened today. I think it's kind of weird.
Yeah, kind of weird for sure.
Close call.
Yeah. So then, what do you think? Surely you've seen the Matrix, the old ones. Again, no spoilers if you saw the new ones, please. The new one today. But so the question is this then. So if there's like a digital reality and we live in some sort of matrix, do you think that, well, who would be the creator? Who would be that divine architect, as Joseph Campbell has actually called it?
And I think that's where people come to the conclusion of like, okay, there's like probably God, like the architect would be like God, but I don't know. I think it's a collection of, it's a complex system from something like I believe in, like, I don't know. Cause like you don't see, single cell organisms, doing crazy, architecture, like, I mean, you see mold doing crazy architecture and stuff, but that even mold is complex. There wasn't mold in the beginning of time.
Right, which would mean the whole evolutionary cycle.
Complex.
Sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
Well, so that would just mean the whole evolutionary cycle of the universe is built into some framework, some programmable framework, right?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm not really thinking too much into it. I'm kind of been busy myself, but what I was thinking is like the architecture, or what is it? The architect?
Yes, the divine architect. Yep.
From a movie, like Jack the Ripper. they try to depict the architect as a bad person in like this one movie. I forget what it was, and it's with Jack the Ripper, and he's like, the architect speaks and something like this. And yeah, and like maybe we want to hold our current complexity and what we have as long as we can, and there's something fighting against it. I don't know. That's how I always look at it. There's something that wants us to take more steps than what we want to.
Yeah, in who knows what ways, too. I mean, we've talked about, in the past, we've talked about the Archons, we've talked about this sort of situation, which would be a negative influence, trying to turn humanity into something it's not, something more monstrous on a daily basis, things like this, right? But then you take that to the next step, like you described, and it's very biblical. It's very in terms of the protector and the adversary, right? That whole bit. And I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that, man, because it just means that those things were set up. Those things were actually, like, this whole thing is just a big charade because it's not reality at all. It's like a gigantic digital play, right? And that right there is what creeps me out.
Well, yeah, and then I was thinking just now about, like, Achilles. You go back to Troy, in the movie Troy, where he chops off the head of Osiris and, like, makes the point that any god that rivals flesh, like, nothing, and, like, he makes the point that he's, like, nothing's happening. Like, I don't know, like, I had all that running through me when I had my visions. So I think maybe in this realm right here, shit's attracted, like it might be the base realm for a lot of people, if there is a base realm.
Okay, gotcha. So in terms of, maybe in the multiple consciousness type thing, like we've talked about in the past, that maybe we are base realm for different people or different places, and there isn't just one base reality. I like it. I like the theory there. Yeah. So Philip K. Dick actually is why we're talking about this tonight in particular, and he described a vision he had of an alternate time frame where the Nazis had actually won. The Axis powers, the Japanese, had won World War II, and what the future would look like after World War II. And so what he's suggesting is that wasn't a story at all. It was actually him dipping into an alternate reality, an alternate digital reality, because I'll play a clip from him in a second where he describes this exactly. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think there's all this other crazy stuff going on out there, all of the possibilities all at the same time in this computer simulation?
In this realm, maybe, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we got the internet and all this crazy stuff. Who knows what else spiritually we have?
All right.
I wouldn't be able to say.
Yeah, well, same here. I think part of the whole idea is when you're inside whatever the construct is, you don't know you don't know your role, whether you are part of a construct or not, right? Is it free in an open universe and this is a base reality? Or are we...
Like, maybe we're like blank. Maybe we're like blank and then like being hydro-dipped. Like you see like Neo... this isn't out the new one. I haven't even seen the new one.
Okay.
But you see Neo come out of the Matrix and he's in the pods and there's like the machine and stuff.
Right.
So he's coming out the pod and there's like a liquid. Maybe the liquid is the design. So you're taking in that design, and then once you disconnect from that design, you're just yourself then. I don't even know. That's just something I'm throwing out.
Yeah, same here. I don't know either. And that's why we talk about this, just to get the ideas. Great stuff. Does it make you uneasy to think that maybe this isn't a base reality?
I don't know, man. Since I had my vision, or even before that, I've had like a lot of confidence, but I've had that taken away at points, but then that made me stronger. Like I don't know, I just feel I want, at some point, like when I was writing really deep into my vision, making all the poetry, I just felt like I couldn't miss. Like if there is something, I'm taking my message there, or I'm leaving it behind.
Right. So
like
just
that.
get it out. Yeah. Great. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, man. Maybe, I think I could see it a couple ways, right? Like if you maybe dipped into another reality, like Philip K. Dick said, if you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. So maybe we should embrace what we have, like I've always said, right? I think there's some merit to that, and just go get it. Go put it out there, do the best you can, have the utmost confidence, and even if you're bad today, with some practice tomorrow, you may not be, and you may be pro of pros, you know? Just go get it, brother. You're the best.
Yeah.
You're the best, man. What else you got for us? So,
yeah, that's about it. I mean, I might think of something else. I'll probably think of something else.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate the phone call. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. Links in the description. Check it out. Give him some love. He does some original music and some other things. Appreciate the phone call, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Alrighty.
All right, there you go. Easy as that. Phone number works. Thank you. Again, I had to rebuild all of the audio on the whole system yesterday, literally from scratch. I blew up all the drivers and had to do everything again because some stupid Windows update broke everything. And I couldn't even speak into this microphone without it just going... It was nuts. It was insane. It was ugly. And I was mad. At first, I was super mad because it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I know how to fix this. And all the old, easy fixes didn't work. I was like, no, stop. It becomes, if anybody works with audio, you know what I mean? It's kind of very, it can become complicated super fast. And if, the old tricks, the old easy tricks don't work. Anyway, we're over it. We're past that. But there we go. A quote from Philip K. Dick. Actually, he called his lecture in 1977 in France. He gave this speech, and he called it, "If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others." And here's a little example of exactly that. Philip K. Dick, of course, of Blade Runner fame, of course, Total Recall. He wrote that short story. All kinds of amazing work from this man. And he says he got his inspiration not from just trying to write sci-fi. He says he was actually able to peek into other versions of this Matrix. Here's a quote, actually a clip from him into this exact talk. Thanks again. Shout out to David for sharing this with me. This is pretty amazing stuff. This is Philip K. Dick describing the Matrix itself. And remember, this is back in 1977. This is a long time ago. This is a lifetime ago, just about in some cases. So let's go. Let's play this and let's hear what he had to say.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. This, too, might account for the sensation people get of having lived past lives. They may well have, but not in the past. Previous lives, rather, in the present. In perhaps an unending repeated and repeated present, like a great clock dial in which grand clock hands sweep out the same circumference forever, with all of us carried along unknowingly, yet dimly suspecting. Since at the resolution of every encounter of thesis and antithesis between the dark counterplayer and the divine programmer, a new synthesis is struck off, and since it is possible that each time this happens, a lateral world may be generated, and since I conceive that each synthesis or resolution is to some degree a victory by the programmer, each struck-off world in sequence must be an improvement upon not just the prior one, but an improvement upon all the latent or merely possible outcomes. It is a better world, but in no sense perfect, which is to say final. It is merely an improved stage within a process. What I envision clearly is that the programmer is perpetually using the antecedent universe as a gigantic stockpile for each new synthesis. The antecedent universe then possessing the aspect of chaos or anomie in relation to an emerging new cosmos. Therefore, the endless process of sequential struck-off alternate worlds emerging and being infused with actualization is negentropic in some way that we cannot see.
Okay, did you catch all that? This was Philip K. Dick in 1977 describing in this talk he titled, "If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others." And that's pretty wild. You hear how in-depth and complex this thought is, that he's describing that the chessboard is simply a metaphor, but the chessboard itself is reality. And so when you have the divine programmer and the dark counterplayer at odds with each other over this reality, the one chessboard is not the only reality. Every time there's a move and a counter move, there's a new chessboard created, you see? And these two entities are at odds with each other constantly and continually. And hopefully, as he stated there, creating a new, better reality each time. But it is an adversarial process, like a giant video game. You see what's going on here? It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. He does a whole lot more on this talk. If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. And again, this is 1977 from Philip K. Dick in France. And he was doing this at a sci-fi conference, okay? And so, well, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Is reality an adversarial process between, well, as known as the divine programmer and the dark counterplayer? And we've talked about this in Gnosticism. It's going to be the Archons, right? It's going to be Sophia. It's going to be, there's a lot of players involved in this, these mythologies or these doctrines, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Like, it's hard to talk about, belief systems without being, kind of disrespectful, because I understand that a lot of people believe this stuff, and and it's okay. I'm not saying you can't or you shouldn't. I'm saying that don't take it that way. I'm not talking about things as if they aren't your reality. I still believe you as a person should be able to believe whatever you want to believe, and I maintain that. And some people say they believe in free speech, and they don't. I actually do, and part of that is, of course, your freedom to worship, your freedom to not, your freedom to make mistakes, your freedom to grow, and your freedom to be just left the hell alone. And that's another idea for the show, another recurring theme of this show. So anyway, as we continue here, there's more we'll hear from Philip K. Dick. I see you, Joe. Yeah, I'll jump you on the show. So we got Night Stalker coming. He's going to take a break and jump in at the top of the hour here. We'll put you on right after him, so hang tight there. Sorry to cut in line, but he clocks out for a break at work, so we want to make sure we don't miss him. But hang tight, and we'll get right with you. I see you in the caller queue. I wasn't sure if you were just there hanging out or you wanted to be part of the show. So if you do want to be part of the show, you know the drill. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And the idea tonight is this. If this is a matrix, how far removed are we from a base reality? And do you actually think it is, as Philip K. Dick is describing in this speech he gave in 1977, that it is this whole reality we live in, this construct, this matrix, is actually an adversarial process where, like a chessboard, and every move and counter move spins off its entirely own brand new chessboard. You tell me. Pretty wild ideas here, pretty crazy stuff. And if you want to be part of the show, you know the drill. You know how to do this. And let's play this as we wind this down at the top of the hour. All right. So I don't know. I am not the answers guy, by the way, Eric. I'm the questions guy. This show's not about answers. Answers are easy. Answers are safe. Questions are actually the things that make people find their own answers. And to me, that's much more valuable than any propaganda-laced, cooked-up answer that you could just put in a textbook and tell people this is the way the world is. And there you go. That's a little bit of troubled minds and maybe juice for you. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we're talking about the Matrix. No spoilers. We're talking about this idea that we live in a digital construct. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More simulation theory, the Matrix, and you when we return. Be right back. about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. Through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show we do live. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, at 7 p.m. Pacific. And, well, we talk about all the things you're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And boy, do we have a doozy for you tonight. Upside down and inside out as we talk about The Matrix. Not the movie, not the new one, no spoilers. We're considering simulation theory. How does it make you feel that it's possible we do not live in our own base reality, but it's a program of sorts of some other entity, and that includes you and everything we've ever known in all of human history? It's pretty mind-boggling, pretty wild thoughts, pretty amazing stuff, and that's what we do on the show. If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, love to hear your thoughts. Please, no Matrix spoilers, because that's just no fun for everybody. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. Got a couple things real quick. We also have a Fringe FM. Go to fringe.fm/chat, and that will give you a direct invite to that Discord as well. It's a chat client, voice client, totally free, and it's a really amazing program. And also, I think, what do we got? We're streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter, broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And, of course, we're taking your thoughts. And if you ever wondered if Discord is actually an amazing program, well, let's go to our good friend, Derek the Night Stalker. Derek in Massachusetts on Discord. What's up, my man? How are you tonight?
What's going on, Mike? Great show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
That's a title. That's a catchy show title right there. The Dark Architect or whatever it is. That's a banger title right there. Great topic.
Thank you. We're going to get into that a little bit more as we go, but go right ahead. I'm sure you got some ideas here about not just simulation theory, but maybe how this construct of this good versus evil, that archetype, is it a thing? Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, that part's heavy. Like that's kind of a lot to wrap my head around. So let's table that for a second and just let's tackle the simulation aspect real quick first.
Sure, of course.
First, you mentioned a comment during the break somebody read about like some type of singularity or some type of moment that's already happened that like we're kind of like the simulation is kind of like working towards or something like that. And I know McKenna calls that the transcendental object at the end of time. It's like we're infinite novelty meets like perfect harmony. It's like, which is a cool idea. It's that like we're kind of all like being simulated, or like from our vantage point, it looks like these actions are like kind of taking place, but it's almost like we're somebody's like life flashing before their eyes. Almost, we're like the whole shape flashing before like the creator's eyes, basically. It's kind of a weird way to think about it. But just as far as like simulation, somebody recently, like, are we in base reality? Elon Musk doesn't believe we are. He, like, everyone's heard this, but he says there's like a 99.99% chance we are living in a simulation just based on our own trajectory, and that other civilizations like us, basically, unless they destroy themselves, will create games that are just indistinguishable from reality. So he thinks there's pretty much no chance that we're living in the base reality. And then this past week, somebody just created a computer in Minecraft that actually plays games on it. You can actually play like Pong and like Snake and stuff in this game. So in this computer, somebody built in a game, which is weird. It's kind of like, I don't know. So if that gets more and more advanced, like, is that kind of like we're living in somebody else's metaverse and we just can't really tell, you know? And I really like the idea that, like, what if this is kind of different than like the two archetypes battling it out and us not being aware, but what if we kind of choose to enter the simulation, kind of, and like when our life is over, we kind of take the goggles off or take our headset off and goes, whoa, that was crazy. I was a shelf stalker in Massachusetts, and I was calling into shows all the time. I was the most boring life. It was nuts, you know? Like, let's do it again. And like part of the game would be, in order to fully get like lost in it, you would have to have some type of amnesia that's part of the game. That's like part of that helmet you would wear, so that you forget it, so that you're fully immersed in the simulation, you know, which is like always on the table. Duncan Trussell had a show. I'm a huge Duncan Trussell fan. He had a show on Netflix, like an animated show where it actually like kind of animates different clips from his podcast, which is kind of cool. But the plot of the main show was that there was like some futuristic alien society, and like a podcaster got like an old piece of technology in their world, and in that technology it creates little worlds, like little simulations of little worlds. So he goes into each simulation to like interview people in the simulation as their simulation is like crumbling down around them. But like the purpose of the simulation machine that's in that world is now out of date. It was literally to just harvest ideas. It's that each simulation might bubble up and create something cool that then the creator of the simulation could then use for themselves. So what if that's happening with us? Like, what if the programmer or something is using us to like mine for ideas, or mine for like data, or mine for, I don't know, energy? There's a Rick and Morty episode where I'm forgetting. I'm not sure if it's a simulation or just like a really small like bubble world, like a terrarium, just like a pet type thing. But Rick creates a world in order to generate, like, that creates its own civilization, like a microscopic world that creates its own civilization, in order for him to like use that civilization as like a giant battery to power his machines and stuff. And then as he goes into each world, he realizes that world created their own little world to power their machines, and then we went into that world, and that little world created its own world to power that machine. So it's like, what if that's kind of what we're doing, and just it's a Russian nesting doll of simulations? And you know, like, it almost makes me think, like, what if there is no base reality? What if this just weird quantum loop, weird snake eating its tail things of just, I don't know, simulations into simulations?
Yeah, pretty wild.
But then,
go ahead.
Duncan also mentioned he did a thing a few years ago where he replaced. This is pretty much kind of just straight simulation stuff, but he replaced terms from the Book of John with like simulation terms, like code and programmer, that kind of stuff, and he calls it the programmer, and it kind of like fits the divine programmer thing. So could I read it real quick? It's pretty short.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So this is from like 2016. He read it on his podcast. He just replaced Book of John terms, like gospel terms, with simulation terms, and the result is pretty weird. So, all right. In the beginning was the code. The code is with the programmer. The code was the programmer. He was with the programmer in the beginning. Through him, all things were programmed. Without him, nothing was programmed that has not been programmed. In him was life, and that life was the upgrade of all mankind. The upgrade shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not downloaded it. The true upgrade that upgrades everyone was coming into the simulation. He was in the simulation, and through the simulation was programmed through him. The simulation did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, and his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of the programmer. So he explains in this analogy that this is the simulation, and the programmer, this divine programmer, that recognizes that the AI inside the simulation reached a certain level of sentience, and that it was actually experiencing suffering. So then the programmer has like a rush of empathy and compassion, and then goes into the simulation as an avatar, like of himself, to create this upgrade, using his own body as a means to do so, and then allowing his simulation to destroy him as a sign of love for the thing that he programmed, which isn't exactly like what we're talking about, but it's a pretty trippy idea, that the whole Jesus story was like, that they call him like a personification of God. Like, what if he's an avatar of just the programmer? And he's like, whoa, cool. It's like, what if the Sims, or what if like Vice, like Grand Theft Auto, he starts like, you're playing the game and then you realize that the characters and the NPCs in the game are actually like really, really suffering. You might be like, whoa, it's just a game. It's just a game. Like, take it easy, So what if that's kind of happening to us? And then I'm cranking through Stargate this weekend. I cranked I'm still only in the beginning of the second season, but I cranked through like 15 episodes this past weekend. And one of the first ones in season 2 was kind of about a simulation where the guy calls himself the Keeper. And when in the simulation, he has he's convinced his population that the outside world is destroyed. So to keep 1,000 citizens or whatever in the simulation for 1,000 years, using all of their previous memories as stuff to do in the simulation. But then after 1,000 years, they run out of stuff to do. They already did everyone's ideas, everyone's memories. So then they get the SG-1 crew, and they're like, okay, we got 4 new people. Let's use their memories and mine their memories to create this new simulation, So I don't know, just the idea that these simulations in some way, idea factories or thought machines, is kind of a cool idea, that I'm not sure. I'm rambling, so sorry.
You're good. No, man, that's what this is about. That's what this is about. I love when you ramble. It makes the world go round, bro. No, so think about it this way too. I was thinking in terms of when you were discussing that, remember that scene in Infinity War, and I bring this up from time to time with Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange had the time crystal, right? The Infinity Stone, and so he was able to simulate millions of possibilities of future realities through some sort of maybe meditative process using the power of this time stone. So if every single one of those realities played out to the final moment when Thanos won and snapped his fingers, well, were those realities in themselves real? And was he creating that? Was he the divine programmer in those realities?
Oh man, yeah. That's really trippy. It would, if he's not just watching this imaginary reel, if the things in the version of me and you in his vision actually thinks that they're me and you, if they're what's the difference? Yeah, I don't know. That's a really, really trippy idea. And then as far as the archetype idea, the main point of the show, that is all over the place. Obviously, God and Satan and that kind of stuff, but in the Gnostic stuff, which I'm sure we'll touch on more when more people call in, the demiurge and everything, the idea that the actual totality of everything is the monad, the neutral monad who's just take everything and basically just draw a circle around it. It's just that's what's consciousness. That's what's experiencing itself and everything. And then in order to experience stuff, that creates the duality, which is just the thing and then something to bounce off of to create experience. You can't create experience in a vacuum. So you need 2 forces in order to have the push and pull, to create that sine wave of the universe. If you're just one thing, then there is nothing happening. So just to the very foundation of just the universe, it would create this it needs to have this duality. And so is that what they're talking about when they're talking about the divine programmer and the dark architect? But also in Gnosticism, they have the demiurge, which is just, so I like the neutral monism idea because it allows for all of the weird. Nothing is excluded under this paradigm. You literally, anything you can think of is included in the monad, So within that monad, you get all kinds of tiers of different celestial beings and old ones and angels and Jehovah and all kinds of stuff. So in one instance, there was some God form or whatever that created the world that we're living in. So our God, Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever, in Gnosticism is the demiurge, and it's a false God. It's not the true, that's not consciousness experiencing itself. That's consciousness experiencing itself as a God pretending to be the God of the universe, So is that the back and forth? So the Matrix always gets I haven't seen the Matrix either, the new one, so there's no spoilers, but the Matrix always gets the Gnostic comparisons being the world that you know is an illusion, the world is Maya, you know, like what's it's not real. And then, yeah, I don't know. So it could be like it could be the demiurge versus Sophia. It could be the conflict, like the false material reality versus like the innate wisdom that's like embedded in actual reality. Could be the thing. I don't know. I know somebody's behind me, so I'm gonna go. And my brake's running low. So yeah, but I think just essentially just that push and pull. You need to have two things in order to like. That's the Holy Trinity to me. Like when somebody says that, obviously you go to like Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and all the different trinities in religion. But the first thing I think of is the observer, the thing being observed, and then the reality that's created by observing something. That's the Trinity. That's everything. Like, so is that kind of what being personified by these two archetypes? It's the thing split himself in two, and then reaction between the two is what creates experience in order for that thing, the monad, to experience everything, you know, if that's the goal, neutrally, you know, without any like agenda, you know. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. I'm rambling. Sorry, brother. I hope that was okay.
No, perfect.
really fire show. Great stuff. I'm looking forward to everybody else calling in. But.
Appreciate it. And great calls as usual. You're the best, man. This is Night Stalker, Derek in Massachusetts. He's got a YouTube channel. Give him a follow, guys. The link's in the description. He's got a trailer. Let's inspire him to do more. Thanks, Derek. You're the best, bro. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. All right. So the thing is this, right? It goes a little something like this. The divine programmer and the dark counter player, all right? Like Derek's describing here, is this possibly what reality needs? Is without some sort of neutral push and pull, reality in and of itself isn't a thing at all, because it can't be. You have to have an adversarial process in a system, right? That's the idea here. Philip K. Dick is describing it as exactly that. Where there's the divine programmer, the dark counter player, he's using the chessboard as a metaphor for a reality itself. And these two players sitting across from each other, moving and counter-moving. And not only that, he actually describes this situation as happening even outside of the bounds of time, meaning that, let's say, the dark counter player actually goes to move, but the divine programmer actually knows what's about to happen and has already pre-programmed his counter move. You see? So not only are we talking about within the bounds of a matrix-like system where every move and counter move kind of spawns its own new matrix-type reality, which we've talked about previously in the multiverse and some of those ideas. But if this is all digital, then creating a new universe is as simple as copy and pasting with a new set of parameters, right? Like, it's literally as simple as that. Like, we copy and paste digital files all the time. So if you got an actual, like, a supercomputer that can do amazing computing type stuff, then, well, what is this about? I don't know. You tell me. That's what this is. The conversation here is just off the charts per usual, and we're talking about simulation theory. And the question is, do you believe we live in a simulation? And does it go deeper than that with this the divine programmer and the dark, what's it called? Hold on. I typed it out. I couldn't find anything from Joseph Campbell, but I'm taking Philip K. words. The dark counter player, the divine programmer, and the dark counter player. All right, let's go to, we're talking about that and all the rest of this. Let's go to our good friend here. What's up, Joe? Joe, he bounced out. Joe Campbell, you there, my friend? Welcome to the show. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you? Oh, he did it again. I'm going to go there. All right, Joe. Go right ahead. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go right ahead.
All right. I'm very excited to be on the show. Thank you for letting me on.
Pleasure's mine. Go right ahead. We've got about 4 minutes for you, so you got to get your point, sir. Thanks for being part of this.
Thank you again. And well, I feel like I'm a believer in, I'm not religious, but I'm a believer in God. So if it is the Matrix, I feel like the only base reality would be in God's mind, and anything else other than that would be Matrix-like reality. And if we only know this reality, none of the other realities that we don't experience matter.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, your mic is muffled a little bit. I'm not sure if you can fix that in any chance, but I turned you up. I boosted your volume as much as possible. But okay, so do you think it is possible then that the reality we live in is not what it seems? That you and I are both digital constructs talking to each other as part of some pre-programmed determination that's already been decided. How wild is that?
I think it's almost definite.
Okay.
I'm with Elon Musk when he says that it's almost 99.9% possible that we are not in the base reality. Like I said, it's not perspective. Our reality is important to me because it's the only reality that I know. Reality where the total mind is, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for letting me on, but if it's muffled, I can't fix it. So you can put my forward if you like.
You got it, man. You got. I appreciate you listening. Thanks for calling in. You are muffled a little bit, so let's get your mic fixed. And next time we'll have you on here, super crispy. Discord's a really great program, but we got to fix your mic there. Appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for giving us your take. Okay.
No problem. I'll do that.
All right, cool. All good. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Thanks for being part of the conversation. That's Joe Camel. Joe Camel, good stuff. First-time caller. He's been listening to us on Discord and some other places. He popped in to say hi, and great to have first-time callers on the show. Thank you very much for that. So we are taking more calls as well as we start to consider. Well, of course, the idea is this: that the Matrix movie came out today. Everybody knows this if they're into that sort of thing, and it is December 22nd, 2021, which is 12/22/21, which is the same forward and backward. And pretty wild that maybe this is a culmination of maybe this reality. I don't know. That's maybe getting a little prophetic and biblical and who knows, deep. But maybe it's not also. I think if you... Again, like Albert Einstein has said, I use this quote often because Albert Einstein did say that God's way of remaining anonymous is those synchros, those coincidences. That's the thing, right? So that's Albert Einstein, one of the most educated minds ever, and he's describing it as just as you would expect, that there are synchros and there are no coincidences. So, all right, so that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about the Matrix. We're talking about base reality. Do you think we live in it? Do you think we don't? And, well, what is the rest of this about the archetypes of the divine programmer and the dark counter player? We're going to get to that and hear what Philip K. Dick has to say about it shortly. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. As you know, this show... non-linear, open-ended. What are your thoughts on this? Is this idea of us living in a simulation wild and too far out there for you? Or do you think it's possible? And if it's possible, how deep does this rabbit hole go? If you want to be part of the show tonight, love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More Matrix. How do I say it? The grand programmer, the architect, and you after the break. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss The Matrix. No spoilers, not the new movie. The idea of simulation theory. Philip K. Dick, the famous author who's now passed on, described an incident where he was able to peer into other realities, and he described them as simulations. Well, what about reality? What about simulation? What about you? Is this just a video game looking for a reincarnation respawn? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hey, what's up? I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the other Matrix movies. I haven't seen the new one, of course. So there's no chance of any kind of spoiling or anything. But, I do think that the Matrix is trying to, in the movie The Matrix, they're trying to explain reality. Morpheus is guiding Neo, like his spiritual teacher, kind of. And we have the same kind of thing going on in our own world. We have metaphors for it. You mentioned Gnosticism. It made me think, too, of, like, the Kabbalah and stuff. And, so it's trying to explain how God created, or the architect, in this sense, created reality, and that it's a simulation, how it appears to us. But, underneath it all, there's these, like, anthropomorphic machines that have put humanity under some kind of, like, hypnosis, and they're feeding off their bioelectric fields, and enslaving them, basically, as a battery. And with that same kind of, and you have the Smith, the adversary type of thing. And I think that it's like, if you think about our reality and how it kind of mirrors that, is that, we only perceive our existence of what's real through the senses. So it is kind of like we're standing or floating in the Matrix, and everything, all of the programming and coding is flowing through us, through all of our senses. And if we think about, too, like in a computer, the way that the coding for any kind of program or for a web page, when you see that coding and the HTML and all of that stuff, it doesn't look anything like what it's going to be on the computer screen. And when we're actually using our computers or artificial intelligence, we can't tell that we're separate from it. We don't see all that coding. We just see what the reality of the screen and the computer experience is. And we can't tell that it's just a bunch of electrical impulses going on in the device and us interacting with it. So there's kind of that idea of the illusion there, or the lack of it being real. But, like when we think about, like, sacred geometry, and someone else will come up and probably mention that, but and the idea of the hum underneath everything that kind of moves everything into its place. If we think about the idea of the Kabbalah, what it's talking about, it talks about in the beginning of things, basically, that God was like this huge, or the force, or Brill, or prana, or whatever you want to call it, that it was like this all-pervasive, incredible energy source that couldn't allow anything else to exist. So it had to recoil back into itself. And when it did that, it kind of destroyed itself. And our reality, and the physical reality, through several different layers, like with the Sephiroth and everything, it created all these different dimensions, basically, and also the physical dimension. And the chaos that was, that came out of this is the way that the world is, basically the way people are and everything, the way we have troubles and that things aren't perfect. But it's really interesting because, in the Matrix, at the very end of the last one, he's fighting Smith, and he realizes that, like, the whole world has been infected with Smith, and he doesn't just have to fight him anymore. He allows himself to be infected by Smith, and then he that's how he overcomes him, basically, and brings order and peace. It's the same kind of idea that, I think the best way that I'm kind of thinking of it is hard. Like, God is hiding, basically, in this reality. The illusion isn't that this reality isn't real. The idea that this isn't real, that is an illusion. This is real. The illusion, I think, or at least, not what I think, but like in the Kabbalah perspective of it, which is not something I subscribe to or anything like that, but is that this is real. What we don't notice is that this divine Brill, prana, life force, all-pervasive energy thing is always interacting and making it exist. And if it didn't exist, if it wasn't doing that, it would all just disappear into nothing, just absolutely nothing. The division is that we aren't realizing that it's in everything around us. And that's how Neo defeats the adversary too. He realizes that he's fighting just another part of the architect. So when he's absorbed, when he allows the architect or this adversary basically, which is kind of weird, but anyway, when he allows that to happen, then it's all unified and brought together, and it brings about this peace. And that's the same kind of thing going on, it seems like, maybe.
Yeah, so even breaking out of a particular reality isn't even about that. It's about embracing that reality to its fullest. And that's how you defeat it, right? Sort of bringing it back to yourself.
Yeah, I think, maybe. Because we have this idea going on right now, and we always hear it, that this isn't real. This is an illusion. This is real, is what I'm thinking on it, kind of. This is real, and it's the expression on another dimension of this all-pervasive force in the universe and beyond. Just this incredible immanence, basically. And if you can realize that it is, but what it is that very immanence of this first source, then it can be brought together, kind of. And that's what happens with the adversary in Smith and Neo, the one, And so he was the last one, like the whole world. So when he accepted it, then the whole world was like, whoo, that kind of thing, and was safe. Or not safe, but, because there's a Messiah thing going on there. But like the idea that the whole world was in peace and Zion, that they were trying to reach with the Nebuchadnezzar and all that,
Yeah, and begins again. It's about rebirth, right? It's about it starts over. It's like somebody hit the reset button, and the sky is blue, and there's peace again. But then, of course, what happens within the same construct? Given that same construct more time, that same thing repeats itself, doesn't it? That same, again, the divine programmer and the idea of that dark counterplayer, those two forces. I kind of like what Derek was saying too, that maybe that reality, our reality, can't exist because it's like a check and balance of itself. You know what I mean? Not to say good and evil, that whole yin yang thing, right?
Yeah, it has to be broken. Like there has to be these cracks and imperfections for it to see itself, like for it to be realized. Because you can't tell that this is happening. There's no way, there's no sign except for the adversary. There's no sign, and the reality can't exist, I don't think. Like if everything, you would just be in the immanence. We would just, and it'd be all pervasive and nothing else could exist. So like humanity and reality as we experience it in the physical matter, it couldn't be that way if we always knew. That's why it's recoiled back and it's hiding, like the force that's in all things. You get swept up in the illusion, though it's not really. You get swept up though into just existing and doing day-to-day things, but that's designed to be like that. The same as like, well, what use would be the computer if you just realized, if you could only see that it was just electrical impulses of this and that, and you just saw coding? It wouldn't be interesting to us if we just saw coding. It's only interesting if we see all the, the animism of it and the engagement. And so, but that's the same thing going on in our reality. It wouldn't need us. We would just be immanence, So for reality to exist in the physical world, it has to have that broken aspect of it. But there's peace whenever we realize that that the divine is in all of this stuff, that it's in even the physical things all around us. Like even metal and things like that it's in absolutely everything. But it's really scary because that means the architect is the adversary too. In a way, I don't know. Anyway, so it's interesting.
It's interesting. The adversary would be part of the construct. Yeah, wild stuff. Jennifer, you are the best. Always amazing stuff here, blowing up brains. Anything else you got for us?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing the movie.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I'm going to watch it this weekend. Jennifer here has a YouTube channel. You love Jennifer? Please scroll down, find her YouTube channel, give her a follow. She's here with us most often, most days, and like I said, blowing up brains. Thank you for participating. Thanks for being you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, absolutely. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. There you go. It's easy as that. Easy. It's not as easy as that. Jennifer makes it seem easy, but it's easy as that to call. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You see what I mean? Secret weapon of the show is the phone calls. It's just the people that kind of expand the paradigm of the conversation. As you know, it turns into a whole lot of different things. It turns into, again, the whole non-linear stuff. It turns into open-ended. We're not like scrunched by time to like come to some sort of conclusion here tonight. It's just more about kind of letting the ideas come and go and let them kind of dance in and out of wherever they should be. And if that's in your imagination, if that's in your memory for maybe a time you need in the future, that's what this is about. This is about getting together and just trying not to force, the issue because of a time clock, things like that, right? But so let me play this clip. We got some more here. We're still taking your phone calls. We got, as you guys know, we do 2 hours on the radio, then we do a third hour off, so we've got extra time in case we need to continue expanding the conversation, include more phone calls, things like that. So we have plenty of time. Don't worry if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Now let me play this part. Now this is a clip from Philip K. Dick. All right, this is again that speech in 1977 in France, and he called the speech this: "If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others." And he's saying that he was able to somehow, through this maybe consciousness aspect of maybe triggered by sodium pentothal, I believe is what he said in a dentist visit, it actually sort of broke his locked-innedness. There you go. I'll just make up my own words of this reality, of this actual matrix. And he was able to see into other versions of this matrix where other things had happened. And he said that some of the stories that he actually wrote were based on those timelines he saw firsthand. It wasn't a sci-fi idea. He believes that he actually saw into different realities. So this is him in his own words. Again, this is Philip K. Dick. Again, one of the probably for sure top 5 sci-fi authors of all time. This guy's amazing. If you haven't read some of his stuff, he's out there. He was way out there because he seemed to have been locked into other dimensions, other versions of this matrix. So let's hear what he had to say regarding, let me find this clip. Let's see, not the metaphor one. How about this one? Check this out. This is what he describes in the instance of the divine programmer and the dark counter player. So let's hear what he had to say. This is in the words of Philip K. Dick. Listen to this. This is pretty wild.
What I still do not grasp, however, is how one reality out of the many becomes actualized in contradistinction to the others. Perhaps none does, or perhaps, again, it hangs on an agreement in viewpoint by a sufficiency of people. More likely, the matrix world, the one with the true core of being, is determined by the programmer. He or it articulates, prints out, so to speak, the matrix choice and fuses it with actual substance. The core or essence of reality, that which receives or attains it, and to what degree, that is within the purview of the programmer. This selection and reselection is part of general creativity, of world building, which seems to be it or his task. A problem, perhaps, which he or it is running, which is to say, in the process of solving, as a computer would. Variables along the linear time axis of our universe, thereby generating branched off lateral worlds. I have the impression that the metaphor of the chessboard is especially useful in evaluating how this can be done. In fact, must be. Across from the programmer-reprogrammer sits a counter entity, whom Joseph Campbell calls the dark counterplayer. God, the programmer-reprogrammer, is not making his moves of improvement against inert matter. He is dealing with a cunning opponent. Let us say that on the game board, our universe in space-time, the dark counterplayer makes a move. He sets up a reality situation of immutable cause and effect. But the programmer-reprogrammer has already laid down his response. It has already happened, these moves on his part. The printout, which we undergo as historic events, passes through stages of a dialectical interaction, thesis and antithesis, as the forces of the two players mingle.
Did you catch that? Like I said, it took him 2 minutes to blow my mind. And I spent nearly 2 hours trying to explain, in crude layman terms, as I do, exactly what he was describing there. The chessboard is the metaphor for the reality. All right? Space-time, everything we know, the universe as we know it. However, there are two opposing forces sitting across from each other on this chessboard, moving and counter-moving. Playing games with our reality itself. Now, if that's not wild, again, back to the old archetype of the divine programmer and that dark counter player as he describes these things. And like I was talking about with Jennifer there and also Night Stalker a little bit earlier, is it's not necessarily maybe the good and the evil, is it? It's two opposing forces. And whether you want to call it light and darkness, good and evil, yin and yang, whatever these terms are, right? These terms are interesting in that the metaphor expands further for us, for religious purposes, for just morality, pure human morality, for all kinds of different things. But you see what he's describing is that the universe itself, even in multiple iterations of itself with different parameters, he doesn't say this explicitly, but what he's suggesting, in my opinion, what I'm interpreting from his words, is that the universe itself cannot exist without that push and that pull. Right? That's what he's describing here. That it is maybe not a zero-sum game like somebody has to win in the sense of traditional chess. Because you guys ever heard the term 3D chess? What about 10D chess? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about really a game of cosmic proportions that goes well beyond the scope of many imaginations. And two opposing forces pushing and pulling to create, I don't know, what would you say? What happens when they've perfected the reality they want? Do they purge the rest simply as smashing a delete key? Do they copy it? Do they replicate it? Do they turn the best reality they created together in their harmony, in their maybe stratagem back and forth? Maybe the reality became, I don't know. Like I said, beyond many imaginations, including mine. But I don't know. I think the thing is that there's a lot to this. And Philip K. Dick had some pretty amazing insight with not just time, kind of playing with time, looking into the future, being able to look into the past, but also seeing these alternate realities as they happen. So let's go back to him, get the second clip of him describing this push and pull between these two dark entities. One being, of course, known as the divine programmer, the one being the dark counter player. Here's part 2 of that, as he continues to describe this. Check this out. This is, again, Philip K. Dick, France, 1977. He named the speech, "If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others." Here we go. Part 2 regarding the divine programmer and the dark counter player. Action.
Evidently, some syntheses fall to the dark counter player, and yet they do not, by virtue of the fact that in advance our great advocate selected variables, the alternation of which brings final victory to him. In winning each sequence in turn, he claims some of us, we who participate in the sequence. This is why instinctively people pray, Libera me Domine, which decodes to mean, extricate me, programmer, as you achieve one victory after another. Include me in that triumph. Move me along the lateral axis so that I am not left out. Sense as being left out means nothing other than remaining under the jurisdiction of or falling prey to the malignant power. But that malignant power, for all its guile, has already lost even as it wins. For in some way the counterplayer is blind, and so the programmer-reprogrammer possesses an advantage. I submit to you that such alterations, the creation or selection of such so-called alternative presence, is continually taking place. The very fact that we can conceptually deal with this notion, that is, entertain it as an idea, is a first step in discerning such processes themselves. But I doubt if we will ever be able in any real fashion to demonstrate, to scientifically prove that such lateral change processes do occur. Probably all we would have to go on would be vestiges of memory, fleeting impressions, dreams, nebulous intuitions that somehow things had been different in some way, and not long ago, but now.
Not long ago, but now. Fleeting impressions, dreams, ideas. And I think the most beautiful part about what he's describing here is he's describing what we're doing, what we do on a nightly basis here on Troubled Minds, as we get together and you can't actually conceive of how large this reality actually is. Just this reality. And we're only talking this reality. And you see what he's saying? If you can ever come to understand it, you must first be able to conceive it as possible and even true. And I think there's some pretty powerful words there. And again, that's from Philip K. Dick in his speech in 1977 that he gave at a sci-fi convention of all places, right? Blowing up brains in 1977, that was Philip K. Dick style, right? And real importantly, the name of his speech, he called it this: if you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. So I don't know, you tell me. As we finish this up, you guys know me, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I've told you time and again, my ego does not like the idea of us living in some sort of simulation. It does not compute to me, all right? But I'm not the ruler of that. I'm not the boss of that. I am not the owner of that reality. Only my own, right? I hope. Cross my fingers. But the question remains, do you think there's any merit to any of this? Do you think that given time, given space, given imagination, given dreams and ideas and these moments he was describing, deja vu, and do you think it's possible for us to get to the bottom of this at some point? He didn't think so, only because the concept itself is so incredibly large. And as we finish this, like I said, there's no conclusions here. The conclusion is you believe whatever you want to believe. This is not church. This is not propaganda. This is not indoctrination. This is just a conversation. It's as simple as that. And I don't know. I don't know what to tell you other than I've told you what I think about it. I hope you learned something tonight. I hope it expanded your view of the entirety, whatever that means. And thank you for coming on the journey with me and all the rest of us. Appreciate that very much. As we finish this up, you guys know the drill. We are doing a third hour. If you're listening to us on Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And as we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right, what's up? We are off the fringe. Here's the deal. Thank you guys for the amazing calls thus far. We're going to do a third hour of Troubled Minds coming up, so don't go anywhere. Still taking phone calls. We got, looks like Daryl's in the queue. We've got what appears to be, let me double check here. Looks like we got Beechwood on the phone. We got some interest. We're still talking about, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about a simulation. We're talking about these ideas of these two forces, these two counter forces that are, well, they're opposing each other, and they're trying to create, possibly, you hope, cross your fingers, the best version of reality itself. It's a big concept. It's a very, very big concept. Again, maybe even past the limits of imagination in some cases, but that's okay. I mean, once again, that's okay. That's why we're here. If you're having problems contemplating how big it is, that's cool. That's why we talk about it, right? Once you begin to start processing these things the second time through, the third time through, the fourth time through, these concepts become easier and easier. And it's good. It's all good. That's why we do this. It's not, again, this is not propaganda. I promise you that. You can call me whatever you want. Like I said, I promise you whatever it is, I've been called way worse. And it's okay. I'm also a big boy, and it doesn't bother me quite that much. So, all that aside, what we're going to do is we got some phone calls coming. We're still talking about The Matrix tonight. Not the movie, no spoilers. We're just talking about the idea of living in a simulation. The idea that there are two opposing forces, whether they're programmers or gods or great old ones, playing this game of metaphorical chess, 10D chess, as they just spit out new iterations of the Matrix based on new parameters, move and counter move. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Got Beechwood. We got Daryl. We're going to go to them in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Troubled Minds. Don't go anywhere. Play some quick music. 2-minute break. Going to go let the dog out. If you ever wondered who let the dog out, it was me. Be right back. Troubled Minds on the way. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are considering all the things, very much like we always do. And tonight is no different, other than it is different, because we're talking about the Matrix release. We're talking about simulation theory. We're talking about the idea of two opposing forces, right? Whether you want to call them good and evil, dark and light, yin and yang, you fill in the blanks. Again, it's not my job to try and create religions or modify existing ones. That's too big a job. It's kind of weaving in and out of all the rest of them and trying to figure out what the hell's really going on here. It doesn't have to match everything. These are ideas that are extremely large. The concepts are, again, when we talked about the multiverse, when we talk about the nature of reality, when we talk about these really importantly large concepts, just because they're so big doesn't mean they're just science fiction, right? There's something to this. Physicists believe there's, maybe Elon Musk has said it's probable we live in some sort of simulation and not that base reality. So I don't know. You tell me. A physicist, string theory, the whole thing. This is all maybe. Speaking of like the whole notion of maybe juice, well, we're drinking the maybe juice tonight, like most nights on Troubled Minds. So we got Daryl coming up. Hang tight, Daryl. We'll get to you in just a moment. We got Beechwood on the phone. We're going to go to Beechwood, then we'll go to Daryl, and then we're going to go to you. If you guys want to be part of the show, we're still talking about this. Do you think it's possible living in some sort of matrix is where we're at? 702-957-1037. Hang tight, Daryl. We'll be right with you. Let's go to Beechwood. Beechwood in Massachusetts. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. It's been a while, my friend. How are you?
What's up, my friend? I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing awesome. It's good to be back on the show. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's been a while. Everything okay out there?
Yeah, everything's wonderful. I was trying to call the show on the Discord thing, but I couldn't figure it out because I'm just not technologically advanced. But yeah, the past 3 months, I've had some, personal experiences. Nothing too crazy, although it is a little crazy. There's no such thing as coincidence. But yeah, tonight I was just calling to say hi. I mean, I have a lot to talk about. The new Matrix movie. I haven't been into new movies in a long time. But from the last show that I called you, after that night, I went without I woke up, my phone was broke. It was weird. My phone was broke. The battery in my car was dead. A bunch of stuff. I had a string of horrible bad luck, and I knew it was going to happen. And I didn't let it bother me, but I went 3 months without a phone.
Okay, and, that would explain
some good time in nature and whatnot. And now it's really, really weird for me because I believe, like, our thoughts. Okay, so I spent like 3 months away from the technology. I don't have a computer. I had a phone. It broke, so I went and I got a track phone for work, like a flip phone. So I used that, and I did a lot of bike riding, a lot of time in the woods, and a lot of thinking because I think a lot.
Nice.
I have a good imagination. And now when I get back and I have a phone again, I found my old phone. It's like what I was thinking about without technology is all like mainstream and manifested now. It's like more or less like your thoughts come from a frequency. Not all of them, but a vast majority of them do. That's what I figured. How you can relate that to the Matrix theory, I don't know, because that's what this show is about, which I do believe, I believe strongly in that. I've thought a lot about it. It kind of twists your brain. But for me, I come to the dead end that this could be a simulation, but for there to be a simulation of reality, there has to be like an initial reality that it exists within. And then I think a lot relate that to like numbers and people like Elon Musk that say the 99.9%, and then that 9 carries on for forever. What is that 0.1%? Like, does that actually exist, or is it just an illusion or a figment of imagination?
That's a hell of a question. That's the question of a troubled mind. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. But that's what I can give you, for the Matrix theory. And then like tonight, I wanted to call because I used to call all the time. I plan to start calling in and discuss some stuff that happened. Some stuff I think about. But I've had I had a few experience. I had a paranormal experience that other people witnessed, which I know the show's not about, but it was while I was at work. And it would be a cool story for another show.
Sure. If you want to guest on a show with that, let me know, and we could build a show around your story. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to say so much more tonight. I used to call all the time, but it's I've been listening to the shows, and it's like I have constant deja vu. It's like I listen to the show and I know what it's going to be about. It's freaking me out. Not freaking me out completely, but I've picked up on it, and I think I've noticed you have some new callers that are very smart. The caller that was just on, I think her name is Jen. She's on point. It's weird. There was a few times I was listening to your show and I wanted to call, and she said what I was going to say. So I was like, oh, okay, I don't need to call. But
nice.
But I think it's a good thing. I think it's the right direction, and I'm going to keep listening. I might call back a little bit later.
Sure.
I changed jobs. I changed everything. But I've also got some proof of global surveillance.
Okay, nice.
I'll send you a couple screenshots if you want.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all I got for tonight. If I might call back, at the end of the show, maybe give a couple of stories, but they're just too off topic. I didn't want to break into them right now.
Gotcha. All right, that's cool. So Beechwood, glad to have you back. I was worried about you because you were pretty consistent calling in most nights, and you used to be the break the ice guy. You'd be the first guy to call most times, and then you just stopped. I was like, what the heck happened to our friend Beechwood? But I'm glad to hear that everything's well. That the only certainty in life is change, and things have changed. And I'm glad to hear you sound great. Everything sounds like you're locked into where you need to be right now. And thanks for being part of this whole journey, my man. You're the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's better than well. And I have very optimistic thoughts for the future. I think there's going to be some major breakthroughs. It might be like mainstream, and it's going to be like a kind of like I told you so situation, but it'll all work out. And then, later I'm going to tell you, I saw a ghost. There was a ghost in a hotel that I worked at that other people saw.
Nice.
But
nice.
Cool story.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on. And I'm still here. I'm still part of the crew.
All right. Absolutely. We never kicked you out. We never kicked you out. Never kicked you out. Beechwood. Thanks for coming back. Pleasure to hear you're okay. Thank you for calling, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, brother.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you. There you go. Simple as that. That's Beechwood. He used to call almost every night. He'd be the first caller we had, and just kind of breaking the ice on the phone calls and giving us ideas and considering all the things. An old schooler, troubled mind. So nice to hear from an old friend. Thanks for giving us a call, Beechwood. Appreciate that. Still taking your phone calls. We're talking about this simulation theory, all right? But it goes bigger than that. It goes bigger than that, right? If we're not in the base reality, what does that even mean, right? If we're in some sort of simulation, how many are there? Are there 100, 1,000, 10,000? Are there 10 billion different, exact, or maybe tweaked with different parameters realities? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I wish I had the answers, because all the propagandists have the answers and they just want to tell you how it is. I don't know how it is. I'm confused by this as anybody else. It's enough just to be able to describe such a big concept, and then to consider it and think about it, and try and like weave it into ideas and the rest of that. It just, I don't know. It's good. It's good to step out of your comfort zone, and it's good to have good conversations with good friends, and that's what we're doing here tonight. So, still taking your phone calls. Perfect timing as the phone line just dropped. Look at that. Sometimes the digital gods are out there looking out after us, and tonight we got the phone call in, and then it dropped. Sorry. I'm calling it back, so phone line's back up in just a minute here. But we got Daryl on the line on Discord, so that's the good news about Discord as well. If we get too much telephone problems, we can just switch to Discord. Daryl, are you there? Test 1, 2? Daryl,
Yes, hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's going on? How are you tonight?
Oh, enjoying the show, as usual. Great calls. Really interesting topic. I was just thinking about the technology and immortality, and somehow this reminded me of maybe this is what being immortal is, or living forever. And I think I've been listening to someone was on a show the other day that said there are people that are already immortal that are living among us, and that we're very close to, maybe it's going to be something with technology, with nanobots. Maybe we have nanobots that would make you would be co-dependent or symbiotic with like a matrix reality, where they go ahead and fix all your problems and fix your illnesses inside your body, and they're so small they just cure you of all your conditions and you live forever. And then something where you could download your consciousness. And then you might be stuck in a matrix, in a computer program, which is possible. How would you know? How would you know the difference? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you could tell the difference if you're in a simulated reality, or whose reality is it anyway? Whose life is it anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep, 100%. And I think the more you kind of dig into that, the idea that. I think in terms of, if we're, to me, as you know, look behind me, look around me on the screen here. You can tell I'm a technology guy, right? I'm pretty good with most technology these days, and I'm even getting old. So I'm in tune with a lot of things that a lot of people kind of aren't familiar with, and that's why I wanted to do this show, to talk about algorithmic manipulation, to talk about things like this. Maybe the actual simulation is a possibility, right? And so to me, it makes more sense to me that, as Robert on Rockfin and some other people have described in some of the conversations we've had, that if we're manifesting or in control of our future, kind of tapped into a universal context, meaning that we don't we don't beg the universe, we demand from it. It makes more sense to me that's less magical and it's more digital. You know what I'm saying? Because it means our code, the backbone of the code itself, would be intertwined with the system. And the system itself is where we're at. So to me, like, again, my ego hates it because I like to believe that I'm me and I'm here for the reasons that I'm here for, not that I'm here for the reasons somebody coded into some system I'm not even like vaguely aware of, right? But it does make more sense to me to have it like, to maybe those synchronicities, maybe coincidences, maybe the rest of that stuff. It makes more sense to me in a sort of simulation sense than it does to me that there's some sort of universal magic. You know what I mean? But again, I'm not the arbiter of truth, and I don't know the answer. So that's just my thought. What do you think?
I don't know, but whose simulation is it? Is it Michael's simulation? Is it God's simulation? Is it Elon Musk's simulation? I don't know. Like, who's in charge of this thing? Who wrote the program? Who's gonna who's gonna code it? Who's gonna decode it? What happens when something goes down? When it goes down, I don't know. Is there an electrical part of it? Is there a mechanical part of it? Is there something that depends on something running smoothly, or it doesn't matter? I mean, how much of a simulation is it? If there's an accident, if it shorts out, what happens? What if they get a short?
Right, exactly. What if somebody like trips over the cord and pulls the plug on the cylinder?
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
I think we call that a catastrophic vacuum decay, is what we call that scientifically.
Oh, good one. A vacuum decay. Cool. Oh, that sounds terrible. I hope that doesn't
sound terrible, doesn't it? They say that the catastrophic vacuum decay is actually what Stephen Hawking, before he passed away, theorized might happen at CERN. Is that they pop open a black hole and in less than a snap, it just gobbles up the entire Earth, and there's your catastrophic vacuum decay. But that would how dissimilar is that if somebody like tripped over the cord and unplugged the server, right?
Totally. Oh my God, that would suck so badly, right?
Exactly.
Oh God.
Exactly.
He was so smart, that Stephen Hawking. I can't believe he came up with something like that. That's crazy. That's sick.
That's pretty wild.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, I hope
hate
not.
When that happens.
Yeah. Have you seen the old Matrix movies at all, Daryl?
I think I saw. I don't know. Maybe I was on a plane and I caught some of it. I don't know it like you guys know it. I should know it better. It looked pretty interesting. I kind of saw that he was like fighting in a dream, and he was lying down, and I don't know. I didn't quite understand, like how he would go into that matrix by, going on a table or something. It looked like he was like remote viewing or something like that.
Yeah, interesting. Like digitally remote viewing, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, hardwired. Yeah, that's wild. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to go back and watch this, and I highly recommend you do the first one. The first one is the best one. The first Matrix movie is like a top 10 sci-fi flick of all time, in my opinion. It is super good. Awesome. Okay. Super good. Okay. And follow the white rabbit, the red pill or the blue pill. All the themes are there, and then it gets into breaking out of the base reality that you thought was and moving into the actual reality. And and then there's levels there, so it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Do check it out if you get a chance. So what do you give it? What do you think the odds are that we live in some sort of simulation? That you and I are just computer programs carrying out the code given to us, right? We're not. We think we're individuals, but we're not. What do you think the odds are of that?
Well, I don't know. I think. We're so individual. It would be like incredibly creative of somebody programming all of us that separately. I think it would be very challenging. I don't think it's, I don't know. There's so many of us. There's so many free agendas and we think we have free will. How do you have a programmed free will? I don't know. I think they're just, life is just way too interesting for it to be so, random or not random, I don't know. I don't think, how how imaginative could a program be? It could be exponentially imaginative when you think about it.
Exactly. And and the way code works is once you set parameters for, people like me and you, the differences between us become trivial because you've already programmed them in. You've randomized a bunch of traits, and then, you just let it smash out people like crazy, and we're all different, right? We're all the same, but we're all different because it's all algorithmic. I like to say algorithmic manipulation rolls off the tongue super easy, but it's algorithmic. Let's say assignment of traits. And you just let's say if you were let's say that program was created and you wanted 10 billion people, you would type in, give me 10 billion people, you would hit the enter key and it would generate them all, and they'd all be different. Yeah. Wild, right?
Wouldn't you think we'd be perfect? And we're so imperfect. We're so imperfectly perfect that there's too many flaws that, I don't know. I don't think they have good quality control then, There's too many flawed humans. I think there's too many flawed problems with that. I think it would be much more perfect if it was a simulation. It would be a perfect world if it was simulated, I would imagine, Well, there's too much danger.
Yeah, and so I'm with you, meaning that if you were going to program a utopia, then let's just see the utopia, right? But I think given, now this is the craziest part. Now this is what gets us to the larger part of the conversation here tonight. So the simulation is one thing, but now when you're talking about the creator of said simulation, let's say for instance, your perfect utopia, Daryl's, would be different from mine. And so if we were dictators of our own utopia, the individuals within it may not perceive it as utopia because it's not theirs, it's our personal, right? And so now in creation, interestingly, right, we have, you make a baby. You have, the sperm and the egg, and you make you need two. You can't make a baby with one, you need two. Now the same thing applies here, right? The same thing applies. If you're trying to create a reality and give it all the best traits that you think are the best traits, don't you want an adversary to be able to say, no, Daryl, here's why?
Right. Yeah, I think you need a little contrast. You're going to have to create your adversary. If you create your adversary, how disagreeable are they going to be? Are they going to be, your enemy? Are they going to sabotage your progress or your programs? How independent are you going to create an adversary? See, you're going to create something that's going to endanger you need like that antidote. And you're playing with the loaded gun there. If you don't have an antidote for your program, or, a fail-safe or a safe word, or, a backup system, you might lose all your data and you might screw it up, and you might do that rotten vacuum existence.
Catastrophic vacuum decay. Catastrophic vacuum decay.
Right. I was close. Rotten. Okay, yeah.
Fair enough.
That dangerous vacuum rot.
I knew what you meant. No, okay, so wouldn't you, if you were creating something, and we're like it's one thing, like the metaphor is the reality of creating a baby, right? It takes two. So even DNA wise, it takes two, because if it's the same, if you have a clone, you have a degraded version, right? It's not the best circumstances. So you need two strong DNA that can work against each other and all the rest of that. But I wonder if that works in the same sense of this creation we're talking about. Maybe in a digital simulation that you need that counterpoint to be able to check you. And I think they even say it in the Matrix itself, in the Matrix movies. They have the architect. And he tells Neo that he's the builder of the Matrix, the architect, he calls himself. But there's forces constantly working against him. And there's also rogue forces like Agent Smith working sort of for his own agenda to take over the entire thing for himself. So, I don't know. Pretty wild. It's a pretty wild story. Check out the original. It's like several hours long. They kind of get a little whack in the second and third one. There's some good elements there, but the very first Matrix movie, is incredible, Daryl. If you haven't like sat down and focused on that, please focus on just that one movie. It'll blow your mind.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm going to try to find it. Thank you. Definitely, I will take your recommendation for sure.
Right on. So what else you got for us? Any other ideas on this whole simulation theory?
Well, I think it all goes back to like what's going on with our technology. I think it's not probable, but it's possible. I don't know. It's possible, but I think we're getting there. We're getting somewhere, like that's a little, on that, very thin line of life and death, and who's going to be immortal, and maybe that's our immortality. I think something to do with our immortality is going to wind up being some kind of simulation. We're going to put download our consciousness into some sort of simulation, and we're going to be living within that simulation if we want to live forever. I mean, we might be doing this tomorrow in the Facebook, the new tech,
Metaverse.
Meta world.
Metaverse, yep.
Metaverse, right. So I think we're getting there. It's going there. Are we going to start to be like our own Neos going on to war within our metaverse, and these like virtual life. We'll be living virtually, which is a simulation. I think we're already kind of there, in a way.
It certainly seems like it. Yeah, that depends on who you ask, and it depends on what kind of mood they're in. Sometimes I reject this entirely, and sometimes I'm like, huh, that was weird. I wonder, right? Yeah.
Gotta wonder. But great show. Love the call. Sorry, just really enjoying it.
Right on. Cool. So hang tight. You're welcome to stay right there. Thank you. That's Daryl in New York. Great stuff as always. Glad to have you on the show. We got Kelly as well. So we're looking to hear from you. What are your thoughts tonight, guys? Are we living in a based reality? Are we actually in some sort of simulation? And what does it mean? Talking about creation, creating a reality. Is there this idea of a divine programmer and then a dark counter player, meaning that the metaphor is the chessboard. To create a reality, you need a push and a pull from both sides just to check each other. Not necessarily a good and evil situation, more of like a yin and yang situation, right? The light and the darkness. Because without darkness, there is no light. Okay, that whole thing, the circular thing, the Ouroboros, like Night Stalker brought up earlier, right? So I don't know. I guess that's what's on deck tonight, and that's what we're doing. And I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation. Looking to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Kelly, whenever you're ready, my friend. Kelly, part of the Troubled Minds family from a very long time ago. How are you, my man?
Good. How's it going, man?
Doing good. Just doing my thing. Happy holidays to you and the family and everybody else out there as well. What do you think? Simulation or nah?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of on your side of the fence where I don't want to believe something like that. But there's some pretty crazy, I would say, they're theories, but kind of like that video I think it was from, it's with James Gate, physicist, when he talks about string theory. And he's got some, on that video, it's just them talking. It was I couldn't find the original one, or, it's like it's a bunch of these smart guys all together, and they're having like a talk, kind of like a TED talk. But he talks about to put it in like a mathematical term, it was through string theory. He has a diagram of what they call adinkras, and in there, he talks about was from another physicist earlier from the 70s, where he's saying that going deep into the fabric of time space, that it was they find ones and zeros, right? Which kind of blows Neil deGrasse's mind about it, because it's not that only that it's ones and zeros, but the actual time is ones and zeros. It's pretty crazy if you ever get a chance to, and just like want to play a couple couple minutes on that, but he explains it more. It's a trip to think about, but I like to kind of go with Tesla's, vibration, frequency, energy, and vibration. For the fabric or the knowledge of the universe, because kind of with that too, though, you have frequency and everything that if something like NASA's been put out, like with sounds of like the planets, or a moon. I think it was Jupiter's moon. It has everything. Every planet out there has a frequency it's putting out, right? So each frequency can be adjusted, or when you change the frequency, it's kind of like when they put salt on the table. The frequency creates that vibration.
You're cutting out just a smidge. Get close to that mic, Kelly.
Sorry about that.
Still trying. Maybe it's the internet. You there?
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I gotcha. Better. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of weird, like how they were saying, kind of with frequency too. It's like with the thing where you put salt on the, on the table, and it, when it vibrates, it creates a pattern on there. That's how I would kind of think about it. I don't know. It's like I said, it's just hard for me to kind of wrap my mind around that we're a program, right? Because you have and if that's the case, let's go do it the maybe Jews. If that's the case, right? It would. I don't know. People saying that they're looking into the future, kind of like the guy that you're talking about, which is his speech is pretty amazing. I kind of like the speech he was given, but I kind of disagree with the part that he's saying that he was seeing the future. How is he seeing the future? Maybe he's just not of other world. Maybe he was seeing the past, because just because we're a barely growing stage with we were at, like especially in the 70s. Now that here,
Cutting out.
How much gain technology that we had gained, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty wild. He's got some crazy stories. I'll play another clip after this too, so you can hear some of the like really nutty stories he's got. But yeah, go ahead. So what you were saying before you cut out there was that how does he know he's seen the past? Like, could it be something else? Right? That's what you're saying.
No, I was saying he was saying that he was sometimes what people see is the future was what he was saying, right? I kind of disagree with that. Maybe he was seeing the past. That's the only thing I was saying. Maybe he was seeing the past because. Just because we're at the crawling stage, what I mean, doesn't mean that technology bound people that, if we're having UFOs, these people that are flying around other universes, and that's the past, that's what I'm saying. So space-time is pretty interesting to think about with, because when people say they're, from the future, how do we know that? You know what I'm saying? How do we know that it was from the future in the first place? Anyway, that's a whole different. I don't want to go down that path anyway. But with this one, when everybody, when you guys were talking about, we're actually talking about Newton's third, law of physics, where it's, every action's got to offer an equal reaction, right? With the whole push and pull of, of what the universe is putting out. But I don't know, man. If that's the case, I kind of was thinking like what Jennifer was talking about, like, okay, you have a program, right? And we can't see it until like it hits the screen, right? And then it puts it at, whatever, like the 3D model of whatever. And maybe if that's the case, if, we have this, the universe is made out of a program, maybe the Higgs boson, where, energy turns into matter, maybe that's the instant that they're looking at where, from the program, the ones and zeros are hitting the screen and, see like what we're seeing, like pictures on a screen.
Yeah, I like it. Like, and again, right? So the Matrix code. Everybody knows that like famous green, Matrix code that bizarrely is not running left to right. It's like top to bottom, which is pretty wild. But But exactly, like looking at that in particular is not satisfying, right? Even if you can read that code and know what it's like sort of exhibiting, it's all about considering that, being buried in that rain of code, but as it's representing itself, not the back end of it, It's just a pretty wild thought that could be what's happening, and we're maybe experiencing that. Pretty nuts, huh?
Yeah, man. I don't see this one is it always gets me tongue tied because like I think about it, right, and it's, I don't know, like that video showing with that physicist James Gates, right? You just want to play that too, just for and listen to what he's talking about. You kind of get the gist of what string theory is. But he says it's brand new though, so it's not something. But for the moment now, because they're into it for like 2 years at the time they made the video. It was something new, right? But in deep down, the further they're going is a program. But what's interesting, life and like, if this is the case, like, and how some people want to go and change now into transhumanism and into computer systems or put their essence in a computer, it's like almost a vicious cycle, kind of like what Night Stalker was talking about, If that's the case, then, maybe it's just a life cycle that everybody wants to, transforming to, the digital world into reality. And, they're sick of the digital world. They want to have the touch of reality, like, human flesh, where it's life again, what I mean? Instead of, you're putting the essence back into life now instead of into a computer system. I don't even get that either, man. That just boggles my mind how some people want to put their essence in a computer system. It's like, to me, that's just a weaker system. The human body is the better system anyway.
Well, yes, except, however, what if the human body is just the backbone basis of some like sublime code? What if the best coder out there? Imagine if it was like a, kind of take it out of our own reality in the code world, and they're like, okay, code the best evolutionary process, go. And you've got all these different coders competing, right, in this room, sort of trying to find the best life code, right? And not just like the parameters, but how it got there, right? It becomes a science experiment through like computer simulations. And let's say, some of them died out. They thought that maybe the reptilians were going to take over the world, just for conversation here. And they coded up the dinosaurs, but they came and went. And they, for whatever reason, they weren't as robust as necessary. I don't know. Like, there's some pretty wild ideas to consider that maybe the human body is the best thing, right? Maybe the human mind is the best thing, but maybe it's not our best thing. Maybe it belongs to somebody else.
Yeah, I don't, man, like, okay, so if that's the case, if we're just barely touching scratching the surface of what we're thinking, right, and this little planet compared to the other planets and the other galaxies, man, that's one hell of a program, you know what I mean? Whoever it was to ever develop, I wouldn't say a who or a thing, but if it's the explosion of life and that is being spread out all through the universe, and then you're gaining technology or what they would call knowledge, right? Maybe it's just a part, it's not the better, it's what we think that is better because it's making our life easier, but in some cases, and it's helping, in some medical cases as well, but it's also find destruction. And I'm saying that, like, and I don't know about the whole, you got to have destruction with life. If that's the case, if with computer systems, you can do a rewrite over. It's not like where you have to destroy it. You can just, like, even if you have to destroy it, that word, like, I wouldn't say destroy, but you can rebuild, break it down and then rebuild it. Why does it have to be destroyed? I don't understand that whole point where, that thing is just, that's like the added part. So again, too, if we real quick if we okay, so if we're the program, right? Then I guess what we are, this life that we're living in, me and you are humans. or the AI, or the AIs, right? The AI robots, the things that want to house this information, to live out, the simulation of everybody, that it was like a program. But I don't think it could be a future. It's just a program that's laid out, and you can't, like, it's just being, because you have what they call, you have your own choice, right? So if you got that, that program can't write that at that moment. We can control that, actually, whatever we can imagine and think. And that's what even the ancient things that we're talking about, like, how they try to teach you, ancient Buddhism, Hinduism, the Gospel of Thomas, where, in your mind, you can change that. So that's why I think it's even better to even have that than even a computer program.
Yeah, free will is what you mean there. And but again, right? Like, that literally goes to just decision making. And as we're finding out, just in terms of like Google and search engines and things like this, like, all of that code can be manipulated. It can be those decisions already pre-programmed. So the thing is, right? So even though we want to, I'm with you 100% in that it makes me uncomfortable, right? To feel that we may be a digital byproduct of somebody else's code, all right? However, I think no matter how you want to boil it down to the human condition, I think code to create us is extremely possible. Like, even, because we're talking about like an alien intelligence. We're talking about like a super intelligence. So us now, we're close to this already. Like we can simulate, full on universes and quantum computers, all the rest of this stuff, right? Probably don't have computing power enough to simulate all the things that we are, and that consciousness and the decision-making processes built in as a framework. But that framework would just be code, man. So I'm with you, bro. Like 100%. I don't like it. My ego hates it. And it's one of those situations where if it is, it's still, here's what I'm going to say about it. And I think this is probably the thing that like makes me fine with it. All right. If we are computer simulations, is it doesn't change much, meaning that we still own and live in this reality, right? We're still responsible for us as much as we can be. And we still got work to do, don't we? We still got things to say, thoughts to think, and God damn it, we're going to keep on doing it. So it doesn't faze me. In the end, it doesn't faze me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on a lot of that too, man. But like, if what was you just saying? I kind of lost thought on that one too. But you, man,
it's up to us anyway. Even if we're a computer framework, we still got shit to do. So let's get busy doing it.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Yeah, but like if yeah, I lost train of thought on that one, man.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man. I don't know, man. For me, I disagree with. I mean, I just can't. It's just hard for me to fathom that, and I fathom a lot. And to think that every action that I ever do is already pre-programmed, I can't do it. I mean, because I've been there where I've been sitting, and there's different decisions, and I even done it myself where I'm like, okay, I got 2 decisions or even 3 decisions in front of me. If I take this path or this one, you know what I mean? And then I do it, and then I flip it around, and I did like, see, maybe it wasn't. How do you know I was going to do that? I was going to start to do this one, but then I changed my mind, and you know what I mean? So I don't think that I'm like with Robert. He was in, he was talking in Rockstream, right? Where we can control all that, we can control the death, especially even by words, by the speak, even by speech, that's what I'm saying. That's it. That's probably all I am.
You're like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this one. Kelly, you're the best. Appreciate it, bro. Always good shit. Happy holidays to you and Michelle. Thanks for being part of this family for so long. I appreciate you a great deal. Thank you so much for everything. You're the best, bro.
Yeah, man. I got one thing for you,
sure,
too, man. Before we get off,
sure.
I always like that one part. So everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of it.
Part of a team. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm me, you're you, but together we're us, and it's a powerful thing, right?
All right, brother. You guys have a good holiday, man.
You too, brother. Talk to you soon. Have a great night. There you go. There you go. Talking about simulation theory. Does it rattle your ego like it rattles mine? Like I say, the joke is Michael Strange's ego is the size of the sun. Well, that ain't got shit on an actual like computer construct of the entire everything, right? So the sun ego size is nothing by comparison. So I don't know. I don't know. A couple shout outs here. I'll actually address this tomorrow. I'm going to prepare this better, so I don't want to just off the cuff this when it's an important thing. So I'll have a message. I'll have a PSA tomorrow. A member of the Trouble Lines family is in need, and if we can help just with a few bucks here or there, I'd love that. I'm gonna donate myself, but I'll give you the details on that tomorrow. Not required, of course, but I just want to make sure that there are people that work for Troubled Minds for a long time now that have been behind the scenes, sort of the Johnny Appleseed, spreading the information all over the internet. So shout out to Zai if you're out there, if you're listening. I'll get your message out tomorrow, and I just want to make sure I'm prepared to say it appropriately. So thank you for what you do. Another shout out real quick to Crabapple. What's up? Crabapple on Rockfin sent a tip over there. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. It said belated solstice. Thank you to you as well. Happy holidays, and I hope the world finds you. I hope the simulation finds you well this holiday season. Let's go to the chat. I'm going to play that video that Kelly sent. We've heard that one before, so we're going to go to that in just a sec. But good stuff. Let's see. Just reading the chat. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Ronald wants to know, when Beechwood gets older, would he be considered Beechwood aged? Oh, there you go. Maybe. What's going on, guys? What's up, Tam Bam? Welcome to the Thunderdome. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Sorry for leaving you hanging yesterday. Like I said, it was not my choice. It was a terrible thing. That Windows update literally broke everything. And so I was doing a bunch of stuff through the day, had a conference call, some other things, and then when I finally sat down to like put the Troubled Minds thing together and do the thing, I fired up the microphone. Luckily, because I was going to do a voiceover for Fringe, right? Like a quick station ID or something, and some stuff for Ryan Gable, and I noticed the mic was like. I was like, what the hell is going on here? So it literally broke everything. So anyway, just so you know, that it was legitimate. I wasn't dodging. You know me. I'm not scared. I'm here and I'm doing the thing. All right. So we're talking about this simulation theory tonight, right? But it gets more wild than that. Let me play this for you. Kelly was kind enough to share this video. We'll go a little bit long because I want to play a little bit more of the Philip K. Dick as well. He's got some pretty amazing thoughts on this because he thinks he actually... through some sort of process was able to maybe move into a different reality of this digital construct, right? So we'll get to that in just a sec. But let's play this clip from Kelly. Now, this is, Neil deGrasse is there and some other folks are there. Let's do this. Let's just play this, and here we go. Give me a sec to sip some maybe juice. Give you a sec to just kind of chill out and listen to something amazing. Here we go. Let's play this. This is Kelly. Neil deGrasse Tyson freaks out when physicist James Gates finds intelligent code in the fabric of space. Here we go. Action.
City is March 7th.
Well, partly it's taken to these very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues here have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes, just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web.
You're saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So,
wait. I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos? Yes.
Computer.
Yeah, computer code. There we go. I linked that video again. Thank you to Kelly for providing that. That's we've heard that one before when we talked about the Matrix, and that's exactly right. I think, and again, right, you think in terms of the particles, the quantum world, right, and you get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then the Large Hadron Collider at CERN is just smashing these photons or whatever they are together, these like the tiniest things, and they got quarks and all and they're trying to get to the neutrinos and all this shit, right? They're trying to get as small as possible. But at some point, isn't as small as possible whatever the fundamental building block of this universe? Isn't that in some cases going to be like a binary code, like pixels or something to that effect? You know what I mean? Pretty. Robert in the chat says anything that shuts Tyson up is good for me. I kind of agree. I'm a talky blowhard as well. So like I get, when you kind of have to try and, if you're in a place where you have to speak, it's a radio show for crying out loud. I'm not crying about it, but you end up saying a lot of shit that you wish you would taken some good, quiet thinking time to consider before you said it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel for him in that he's more like a talk show host than a whatever physicist he's supposed to be. So I feel for that, but you're right. He grates on my nerves sometimes. But anyway, all right. So we're still talking about this. We're considering this, and thank you again, Crabapple. Shout out for that tip on Rockfin. I appreciate that very much. So the thing is, like, I don't know what's going on with all of this. You know me, I am not the answers guy. It's not my thing. I think answers are propaganda. Easy answers are worse propaganda and like poison. And that's not what this is about. So I'm not trying to tell you that we live in some sort of digital construct. All right. In final thoughts here, I'm going to play a little bit more Philip K. Dick because I think you guys need to hear it because it's mind-blowing. Once again, special thanks to David in the Discord for sharing these videos last time. We were talking about the Matrix. It was kind of kicking it. And again, this is how ideas formulate, through conversations, right? You talk to each other, you get an idea, you get a source, you listen to some things, and you go, oh, holy shit, there's something here, right? That's the way it happens. And like I said, I said this to Night Stalker a couple nights ago, and I believe this. I believe diversity of thought, diversity of intelligence, being, diversity of individuals is a good thing. I think it is a strength, right? I really, it's built into the core of me. I believe it. I am not trying to impose my will on the world, right? I'm just not like that. I think that imposing your will on anything is not good, right? Like don't you have the autonomy to impose your will on yourself as much as you want? If you want to eat pizza and drink beer every day, you're allowed, right? Like nobody's going to get in your way. Go get it. You know what I mean? Go get it. Well, but if you try and impose that will on everybody else, you just become an asshole at the very least. So just saying, there's no agenda here. Like you guys know, I just got to say from time to time because people get the wrong idea, but believe what you want to believe. And I think that's the most important part of these conversations to me is that it's okay that people believe different things. It doesn't have to be some sort of hive mind Borg situation where everybody believes whatever the fuck Fauci tells us. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine what a sick world that would be? But anyway, point being, to boil it down, it's good. I'm glad we have people that believe other things. I'm glad we have people that are Christians. I'm glad we have people listen that are Muslims. I'm glad we have people listen that are atheists or agnostic or somewhere in between, Jewish, the whole deal. You name it. Whatever it is, or Judaism, whatever, right? It's all valuable to me. And that's what this is about. And that's why we do this. I heard somebody. Who's there?
Hey, man, real quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Hey, I would just forgot about this, but like I was saying, okay, so if this is a here, especially here on the planet, like, and I had a theory about that. I already talked about like how we are all clones. Okay, maybe this is the thing. If it is a program, right? Maybe that's why everybody has got a doppelganger around the world and from every different country. There's other people that, from other countries. Like I have a black guy that looks like me, an Asian guy that looks like me, a white guy that looks like me. So if that's the case, maybe that's the maybe we are in a simulation, right? Because
so the code actually has replications of itself to save computing power or whatever.
Yeah, because everything is just a rewrite with just different similarities. Just different little tweaks. You know what I'm saying? So another one would be is because there was this. The reason why I say that is because it was weird. There was one time I seen a show where they were talking about these doppelgangers, and then these girls. There was 3 of them that they all looked alike. They're all from different parts of the world. One from the United States, I think Russia, and some other place in Europe, right? But these also they got them all 3 together. They wanted to meet each other. But the strangest shit about it is that when they met, and they even took pictures. They had the same outfit on, and it was like the same color type outfit. They were talking about they had the same pet. I can't remember if it was a bird or a cat, and it was the same kind of bird or same kind of cat, same color, everything. It was weird as shit. So if we're all different, then why are we all the same?
Yeah, well, that's a hell of a question, right? It's a hell of a question. I don't know. But yeah, I love the thought. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mike. I was just saying. I just wanted to pop in real quick and just kind of throw that in there again.
Yeah, perfect. That's what this is for. That's what that's what this show's about. I appreciate it very much, bro. Thank you. All right, good stuff. That was Kelly in Colorado. All right, so let's do this. Let's play just another clip or two from this. I want you guys to get the full. If you want to listen to this interview in full, this talk by Philip K. Dick in 1977, I encourage you. Link is in the description. Go check it out. On Rockfin, the only reason I don't put the links over there is because send this to Jamie at Rockfin, by the way, to say, hey, increase the character limit on the description box, and I'll include the links over there as well. I have to trim them out because it won't let me put them in. So if you guys know who Jamie is over there, he's an executive at Rockfin. Just pass that on. It helps to give us more than just 1,000 characters. So there you go. But anyway, so let's play a little bit more from. But the links will be on YouTube and on the podcast feed. You can find them there to listen to the rest of this talk. So that was my point. Okay, so we talked about the dark entity, the dark. Let me get the terms. That's why I had to write them down, because like the terms, the divine programmer and the dark counter player. All right. So we talked about that tonight, and specifically in the frame of Philip K. Dick and Joseph Campbell. He was citing Joseph Campbell here. So check this out. Let's see. Dark player 1, 2. Okay, here's another one. Listen to this. Now, once again, remember, Philip K. Dick was saying this in 1977. The name of his speech was, "If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others." Listen to this. This is wild.
What we need at this point is to locate, to bring forth as evidence, someone who has managed somehow, it doesn't matter how, to retain memories of a different present. Latent alternate world impressions, different in some significant way from this, the one which is at this stage actualized. According to my theoretical view, it would almost certainly be memories of a worse world than this. For it is not reasonable that God the programmer and reprogrammer would substitute a worse world in terms of freedom or beauty or love or order or healthiness by any standard which we know. When a mechanic works on your malfunctioning car, he does not damage it further. When a writer creates a second draft of a novel, he does not debase it further, but strives to improve it. I suppose it could be argued in a strictly theoretical way that God might be evil or insane and would in fact substitute a worse world for a better one. But frankly, I cannot take that idea seriously. Let us pass that over. So let us ask, does any one of us remember in any dim fashion a worse Earth circa 1977 than this? Have our young men seen visions and our old men dreamed dreams? Nightmare dreams specifically about a world of enslavement and evil, of prisons and jailers and ubiquitous police? I have. I wrote out these dreams in novel after novel, story after story. To name two in which this prior ugly present obtained most clearly, I cite The Man in the High Castle and my 1974 novel about the U.S. as a police state, called Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. I'm going to be very candid with you. I wrote both novels based on fragmentary residual memories of such a horrid slave state world. Or perhaps the term world is the wrong one, and I should say United States, since in both novels I was writing about my own country.
All right, did you hear that? Fragmentary residual memories. So he's saying these weren't dream states. He's saying that he actually passed into a different reality version of this matrix we're talking about tonight. And this is Philip K. Dick in 1977, right? And he had some wild experiences. And again, right, you look at some of these visionaries, it makes you wonder about folks like George Orwell in 1984, right? That dude was so spot on about an amazing number of things. And, well, so was Philip K. Dick. And it makes you wonder, what are they tapped into? What about Nikola Tesla? What about the rest of that? That's pretty wild, right? Okay, so now, what started all this? What actually kicked him into the ability to see other parts of the Matrix, to see out of his own reality, right? Listen to this. This is wild. So this is one of his experiences. This is Philip K. Dick in 1977. He's passed away now. Again, one of the best science fiction writers of all time. And he was describing in these series of videos down in the YouTube description link. Shout out again to David for sharing this with me last night. Amazing stuff. Philip K. Dick believed there was a matrix and there was an adversarial situation going on to create these multiple versions of the matrix in the sense that they wanted to create the best one possible. And the only way to do that, right, in terms of, like I was talking to Daryl previously, if Daryl and I, in our own specific terms, created our own utopia, it would be utopia to us, but it would be that dystopia to everybody else, right? So, as a result, you need two equals able to push and pull on a particular system to create the best version of the system. And that's what he's talking about. And we're talking about, I don't know, gods, great, dare I say greater than gods, Lovecraftian old ones, I don't know, right? He doesn't specify, but listen to his actual experience. Let me find this one. This is what kicked it all off, right? That allowed actually Philip K. Dick to see into other situations outside of our reality. Check this out. This is nuts.
I can even tell you what caused me to remember. In late February of 1974, I was given sodium pentothal for the extraction of impacted wisdom teeth. Later that day, back home again, but still deeply under the influence of the sodium pentothal, I had a short, acute flash of recovered memory. In one instant, I caught it all, but immediately rejected it. Rejected it, however, with the realization that what I had retrieved in the way of buried memories was authentic. Then, in mid-March, month later, the total body of memories, intact and entire, began to return. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. I am sure that at the very least you will agree that for me even to claim this is in itself amazing. People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I am willing to talk about it. If you have followed me this far, I would like you to be kind enough to go a little further with me. I would like to share with you something I knew that is retrieved along with the blocked off memories. In March of 1974, the reprogrammed variables tinkered with back at some earlier date, probably in the late 40s. In March of 1974, the payoff, the results of at least one and possibly more of the reprogrammed variables lying along the linear timeline of our past set in.
Okay, I am very, very sorry, guys. I've got phone calls for days. Shit, sorry, I'm playing clips. Let's go to the phone calls. Sorry, guys, hang tight. Going straight to the phones. Sorry about that. Let's roll. Let's go to, looks like, I believe this is Jack in Oregon. What's up? Go ahead, sir. Go right ahead. Sorry to keep you waiting. Oh, shit.
Don't take offense to that. That's all right.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, I love PK Dick, especially Flow My Tears. The idea of a guy, like, his job to do all day at the beginning of the book is to put the tread onto tires with, like, a soldering iron. That's a good book.
Hell yeah. He did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
What is your... Go ahead. So what I want to get to
PK Dick was really to the point when he said he was putting himself out there, like what the most unusual thing he's doing is actually saying something, right?
Yeah, like
speak about that.
Yep, yeah. So meaning that just go ahead, just tell us. We're cutting back and forth, I think. Go right ahead.
Sure. Well, what I like about your show and what I like about PK Dick too is it's like catharsis. Okay, you know the strange things that you see, unexplainable stuff that you know. What are you going to talk about it at the water cooler? Are you? Or what? But when you do talk about it, it's a little bit relaxing.
Yeah. Like you should be able to have a beer among friends and talk about amazing shit. And that's I agree. I'm 100% locked into this because, like I said, it's not even about me, right? It's about so many other things. I'm just one tiny particle in this universe. And so, you get a bunch of excited particles together, and you never know what can change. It's amazing, man. Good shit.
Yeah. So, like, you had a lot of good stuff. Imagine going into, Recall and buying the bargain deal, okay, instead of, like, actually paying an extra $10 and getting the real thing. It's a reference to Total Recall.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We can remember it for you wholesale. Yes, sir.
Right, yeah, give it to me. I want the top shelf. Don't be a cheapskate.
Right. Give me the top grade memory. I don't want the shit that's like seems fritzy. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like PK Dick.
Yeah, definitely good shit. So we got phone calls, so I can't let everybody go super long because we're already long tonight. So what is your thought on this simulation? Do you think it's possible? So PK Dick actually did think we lived in a simulation, right? And he was able to cite sources where he had personal experiences and give you exact instances where these things went down. What do you think? Do you think this maybe the multiverse we live in is actually a digital construct?
Well, I live in the future of PK Dick, and in the future of PK Dick, there's things called chatbots, and I think they actually made a robot out of PK Dick. But I've met people who actually talk like chatbots, and it's hard to like reason with them, or I don't know, communicate. Anyway, yeah, on with the calls.
Okay, all right, you're the best. I appreciate it. Thank you for the call, Jack. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being a PK Dick fan. The dude's amazing. You're amazing. We'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays to you and the family. Catch up with you soon. You're the best, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night. Great. There you go. Simple as that. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Sorry to keep you waiting. Go right ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe the code, that if there is like a simulation of some sort or something like that going on.
Are you shitting me? And there's the universe crapping on us because the phone line just died right as Jennifer was getting into it. Hold on. Let's call this back. You guys get to hear exactly what this is. Here you go.
Thank you for calling Troubled Minds. Caller ID authorized as a host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface. Audio recording is on. Dual channel.
Floating around, and I guess it's like ancient knowledge or something like that. But they had these plates, and they plugged them into this like certain frequency hum that would resonate across the plate, and they poured salt or sand on top of it, and it would shake the sand and everything into different vibrations would move the sand into different positions. And so everything was being kind of resonated into its place, like all the material was. And so if there's a resonance going through the universe that's set out from this architect of sorts, it's kind of like it's the resonance and then the coding of the sacred geometry that's putting everything into its place and moving things around in the universe as it is. And I wondered if maybe that's the code, maybe, because it's kind of interesting like that it seems to be coming from that.
Yeah, fractals or whatever, right? So just to let you know, in the first 45 seconds of your phone call, it dropped. You basically came on, you started talking, phone call dropped, I dialed it back in, and you were still talking. So the first about 45 seconds when you were talking about sacred geometry, we caught the last part, not the first part. So if you want to fill that in a revisit, that's cool. If you want to say, screw you, Mike, that was rude, don't ever do that again, that's cool too. It's up to you.
No, just that it was it might be like a code through the sacred geometry of the vibration of the universe. There's a resonance going through the entire universe, like even your heartbeat. There's underneath everything, there's a hardly perceptible hum and resonance going on. Everything existing is doing that. And it's kind of shaking all the matter and all of the atoms and everything into their places perfectly into a sacred geometry. And that sacred geometry has angles and number equations to it, and it's coming out of the resonance, kind of like the word, the idea of that. And so different words would have power like that in certain songs and certain chants and things like that from in the past. Like the cathedrals were built just for the resonance and everything. It may be to move things in a certain way through the resonance. Did you hear the part about the plates?
Yeah, so and the salt on the table? Yes. Like I think we reconnected right when you were talking about that.
Yeah, that they had seen that, that different frequencies and sounds would move the salt into different types of geometric shapes that look very much like the perfect geometry that you see in the universe around us, like in leaves and snowflakes and things like that. And so maybe that's the code of the architect in our existence and in the universe. And what they're talking about, those two scientists were talking about, scientists, the ones that are on TV, but they were talking about how everything has an equation to it. And that equation may be that resonance and that certain vibrational resonance. And that turns into a code of numbers with a geometry.
Yeah, like Kelly was saying.
Or maybe part of it.
Yeah, back to Tesla, the old energy, frequency, and vibration. And in terms of like deciphering the universe, there's like this something out there. There's that resonance, like you're describing it as, that seems to maybe turn malleable things into what they're supposed to be. Right? It's just out there. It's that term we use that's in the air. Like that would be it, right? It would be that resonance that's just kind of like constantly shifting things to where they need to be for the universe to whatever it's doing, Wild stuff.
Yeah. Maybe something like that, like a sound, like a song or something, or something like that to that effect. Or they thought that or something. Anyway, great show tonight.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Appreciate the call. Jennifer, Missouri, give her a follow. Link in the description. Sorry about that. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I had no idea we had phone calls. I basically rechanged my setup, just so you guys know. So it's trying to like streamline things so I don't have like 22 windows to watch. It makes it really difficult. So I moved the call thing into my streaming thing, but it means I have to like get used to tabbing over to check for calls, and I didn't. So it's better flow-wise. It's not better because I missed tabbing over to check it. So I apologize for keeping you guys waiting. Amazing calls. Let's go to Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, brother? Thanks for waiting so long. Go right ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
Let me put your mind at ease.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing to fear about the reality that you're in because you created it. You created it the way you wanted to. All right, you could change it any time you want to. All right, so there's nothing to fear. You're in control. The question I put in the chat, though, was if we create our own reality, all right, did I create you or did you create me? And the answer is both.
Okay, I'm following you. I was about to say, no doubt, 100% Robert, I created you. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Anyway,
me and my jokes. Go ahead.
What Mr. Dick was referring to, and he, I'm pretty sure he understood it, was that he recalled a different America, a police state America, ugly America. All right. What he was remembering was a first draft or a second draft. All right, and he's correct. The whole process of a simulation is to improve the simulation. So the America that is like we're living in today is an improvement over the simulation that he remembers. What he's really saying, in a way, is we write this story. He's a writer, right? And he writes the story. He wrote the draft for the ugly America, and he decided to edit it to make it better, all right? And he did, all right? But there's also another aspect to that. The very kind of America he remembered back in 78, 79, all right, having come from or having visualized, been to, is what's happening now. I mean, we've become a surveillance state, a police state. All right, was he really remembering a different simulated America, or was he really projected into the future to this time?
And additionally, did he have a hand in changing, because of his storytelling, changing the reality from one step to the next?
Brilliant. That's a great observation, and I would say the likelihood it's true. You see, when you let's say you sit down and you write a fiction story. All right, let's say you put the characters in there, all right, and you're writing the beginning, the middle, the end, and you've got the plot. Do you know that because you think of those characters form a parallel universe. They actually exist in a parallel universe, all right? Whatever you think of manifests. That's how powerful we are. All right, and like I said in the chat, we choose when to leave this simulation. When we die, we decide when we're going to die that we're leaving the simulation. That's the only reason we die, because we decided we're going to leave the simulation. But the world that we go into, the hereafter, all we're doing is leaving this simulation and going into another one. That's why some people who relate to their death experiences say, well, I saw the Buddha, or I saw Muhammad, or I saw Jesus, all right? It depends on what you're expecting when you go there, because the simulation you're going to, you're creating. Hello?
You're creating, is what you said. Yeah, and then you paused, so I thought you were collecting your thoughts.
Everything that in our experience, from this reality to the next, we create our own.
I like it. I like the idea.
Before.
So maybe Mr. Dick did have a role in maybe pushing forward a better world for us to create in, right? Maybe again, like I would say,
you can change it.
Right?
You can change it any time. I put a little something there that's a little wacky. Maybe seems some kind of wacky to some people in the chat. All right? But I'm tired of this reality with the oligarchs. I'm tired of what they've been doing. Even though if I'm to believe what I profess all the time, I created the reality. I wrote the script. All right? I'm tired of it and I want to change it. I'm reaching the conclusion. All right? That I've read the beginning and the middle of that script is done, and now it's time for the conclusion, the climax. And that climax is that all changes. There's a big bubble that's going to burst, and those people are going to be, suddenly vulnerable to retribution for what they've done. And that's happening. That's going to happen. I believe that tremendously. And look at that. And when I say about you choose to leave the simulation for the other simulation when you die, look at Henry Kissinger. He chose, you don't have to leave the simulation. If you just want to live in the simulation forever, you can do that. Look at Henry Kissinger. That's what he's doing.
How old is that guy? He's like 99, right? Like, holy shit.
He decides, and Betty White likes it so much. Look at her, right? Yeah. But you can live as long as you want. Both those people had wonderful lives, so they're reluctant to leave it. So that's why, and that may be about longevity. Is if you enjoy the experience, you're going to live as a ripe old age, because before you decide you're tired. And you want to leave for the next stimulation.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man.
That's about all I have here.
My friend,
I just thought I'd call in because this is my thing. I also have written several stories along these lines. All right, and the book I sent to you is the seed of everything that I've come to understand, and we do understand it. We know who we are from up to the age of 4 to 5 years of age. We know the truth about our own reality. It's just that we decide to come into the simulation, to come into the game. All right, and like any new game, all right, we don't have a suspension of belief with a new game. It comes as the game goes on. As we get used to the game, we lose all sense of reality. We're into the game. That's what happens at 5 years old. You lose that memory of the truth of your reality because you finally got so far into the game that you have to concentrate to navigate it. All right, and you forget how the game started.
Right, exactly. I enjoy that there is something else, that something is larger. And the book you sent me, by the way, is The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. And I did just show it on the stream, but that's the book. Thank you very much for sending that to me. I will read it, I promise you.
And she came up with all those. She was just an English teacher. Right? She was no physicist or she was certainly no brainiac, physicist, or anything like that. All those concepts that you talked about tonight are in that book. All right? How did she know all that? She claimed she communicated with an oversoul named Seth. All right? And that he communicated the truth about reality to her. Like a medium. And her husband would then transcribe it, and then it became a book. All right? There's no way that either one of those people could have had those types of ideas, the physics, everything down pat, because neither one of them were trained in it. But it all is just exactly like your program tonight. It was same thing, and this was not in 1979 with Mr. Dick. This was back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Nice. I love it. None
of this, when Spring Theory and none of this stuff was even on the plate.
I love it
anywhere.
I love it that none of this is new. Like they say, right, that the term is nothing new under the sun. And these ideas, But I think, so what I was going to say about you, by the way, you're inspiring as well to me because you're bringing new ideas to my consciousness, right, that I never considered as possible, right? Like, who said this the other night? We were talking about magic and stuff like this, but somebody said, I think it was Rohan. He's like, hey, no. He's all, Mike, You may not believe in magic, but you like to make your own magic, right? Like your own. You don't want somebody else to dictate the magic to you. You do it yourself, right? And so because I got a goal, I got to focus. Like we have amazing conversations, but the same thing with you is you're, casting fairy dust into the ether that I'm catching, and I'm feeling it. And like I said, it's mutual, my friend. You inspire the shit out of me. Your book is amazing. I'm still reading that. I haven't got through it because I read slow, because clearly I got tons of shit to do. I'm doing a show every night. But man, keep it up. Keep firing. Keep punching. Keep with the ideas. I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Well, I enjoyed the whole show tonight, so I'm going to get off because it's getting late. You may have other callers, and I just love your show. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see you succeed. There was something about you. All right, you just are so professional in what you do. You may not think. I don't know what your attitude is towards yourself, but you're as good as any $6 million broadcaster on television.
Thank you. That's nice. And I resemble that remark because I'm actually as good as any $10 million broadcaster on television.
Okay. You're better. You're as good. Yeah, okay. Good night.
Making the joke. Happy holidays, you and the family, Robert. Appreciate the call. You're the best, brother.
Merry Christmas.
You as well. Talk to you later. All right, there you go. Ribbon Robert a little bit because that was funny. I had to take it. So you make friends on the show, and when you get a joke, you got to dunk in their face sometimes just for the lulz. Amazing stuff. Robert is a fan of mine. I've been a fan of his for a long time. He has a book called Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert Collection. You guessed it. Links in the description. Check it out. Great writer. He says he resembles Rod Serling. I think he's probably more a mix, in my opinion, of Rod Serling meets Philip K. Dick. So that's my opinion. He's got some pretty amazing stories in that book. And there we go. All right. So as we finish, again, I want to apologize to everybody for last night. A Windows update fucked all of my audio drivers, and so here we are. I had to, no shit, like when I say this and I have to like strip everything down and uninstall everything and restart, it's a complicated setup, and so it takes a lot of time. So thank you for bearing with that. You know me, I pride myself in working hard and being here every night, and I was disappointed last night when that happened, but there was nothing I could do. We could have done it, and it would have been the most sketchy bullshit show ever, because it would have been like every third word would have been like, right? So I just couldn't have done it. I'd have pissed all y'all off, and you got a quality of expectation. Expectation of quality is what I really meant. But anyway, so there we go. Thank you tonight again for all the amazing calls. I don't know. In conclusion, as always, as usual, I don't know the answers, right? Sure, we talk about a lot of woo-woo stuff on here, and is a lot of that bullshit? Sure, fine. But also, is there something to it? And that's the conversation, right? It's not in binary, this, that, the other thing, in is this right, is this wrong, or any of the rest of that stuff. It's just about talking. It's about thinking. It's about connecting. It's about, you guys get it. You're here, so you get it. I don't have to tell you. But there's larger things in this universe than just, well, whatever the fuck they're telling us to believe. Because I'm going to just say, you guys know me. I don't believe a lot of the crap they're trying to tell us. A few quick shout-outs to some fine folks out there. Treeland, what's up? Thanks for showing up tonight. Let's see. Who else? We got, again, double, triple, quadruple thanks. In trinary code to David for hooking me up with that Philip K. Dick stuff. I'd never heard that before. It was blowing my mind. Listening to that, I was like, holy shit. I have 20 clips. We could go another hour just playing Philip K. Dick clips and talking about it. Those links are in the YouTube description. Check them out. Again, that's from David on the Discord. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, you're missing the fuck out. Some nights the party goes on all night. Not just me, everybody else, right? We got, I'm not going to name everybody because if I do, I'll leave somebody out, and that's rude. But I'm there often. Many other people you hear call into the show are in the Discord often. And you can meet these people. You can hang out with them. You can type to them. You can share links or photographs, or and the only rule is just be cool, just be chill. Like, don't consider yourself right and everybody else wrong. It's literally just a simple rule. Don't be a douchebag. Respect other people. It is on Facebook. But come hang out. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link if you have not yet. Who else did I miss? I'm going to go scroll up real quick. What's up? We got some spammers. I'm going to ban the Shelley spammers. You better believe it's coming. What's up, Robert? It says on YouTube, I've been alive forever, and I write the very first song, put the words and the melodies together. I am music. I write the songs. Barry Manilow. God damn it, Barry Manilow. Why? Let's see. Who else? Who did I miss? What's up, James Salcido's going to bed? Yep. I appreciate it, bro. Eyes are really bothering you tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you. Please give him a follow as well. All the links in the description. Night Stalker as well. Jennifer. All the people. Robert's book. You guys know the drill. Links in the description. Give Troubled Minds is not just me. It's us. Okay, so there you go. Just want to make sure. Okay, give the folks some love that are blowing up your brains every night, and that's that. Let me double check the Discord, make sure nobody's in here, and let's get the fuck out of here. What do you say? Thanks again. Please accept my apologies for last night. I'll do my best to make sure Bill Gates doesn't fuck me with another Windows update. But what can you do? You fix it and you move on. So here we are. So we'll be back tomorrow night. The bad news is, this one's for Jay if he's out there listening. The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. And so, considering that, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific. More Troubled Minds coming at you. And, well, what does that mean? I don't even fucking know. We'll find out. I am not the answers guy. I'm the questions guy. It's about asking. It's about thinking. It's about considering. Are you right? Who cares? I don't care. I don't care about right. I care about considerations. I care about considering the fact you may be wrong. That is wisdom. That is wisdom. Leonardo da Vinci said at 87 years old, I'm still learning. So, it's our duty, standing on the shoulders of giants, to continue learning. And what that means is asking questions, challenging ourselves, challenging what comes tomorrow. And that's what we're going to do. And as we get into the holiday season, I know, I'm going to say it, Merry Christmas. It's politically incorrect anymore, but I don't give a fuck. And also, Happy Holidays and all the rest of that. It's all good. Peace, joy, and prosperity among humankind. You got it? Like, there's one notion, and that's it. And if it's not that, we may have a problem. All right? I don't give a shit about your political affiliation. I don't care who you listen to on CNN or Fox News. I want you to be open-minded. I want you to consider you may be wrong. And that's what this is about. Thanks again. You guys, the energy you bring to this every night is incredible. It's inspiring. It's humbling. And I can't thank you enough. Happy holidays. Health and all the rest of that to you guys. Health and prosperity. And let's get the hell out of here. You guys know the drill. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific, more Troubled Minds. What the topic is, I don't know. We'll figure out between here and there. And watch The Matrix. If you guys haven't watched it, watch that very first one at least. It's mind-blowing. And James is offended. That's okay. Turn me in to the thought police. All right, but let's get the hell out of here. Tam Bam. Tam Bam. There you go. Tam Bam says, my next life is a princess of Venus. I love it. My vote is for you, Princess of Venus. I'm casting my vote tonight. You guys have a great night. Here's what we're gonna do. It ends a little something like this. Let's do that. Let's do the full thing. It goes like this. What do we do it? Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night.